Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 292nd edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host, Steve Wellings, and joining me on the call tonight, we have Ozzy Smith, Andy Patterson, and Big Bopping Ben Farouk is with us as well. There you go, Rob Barnett. Rob thought we wouldn't start till 7 minutes past 8, so I said 4 minutes past 8. It's 3 minutes past 8, Rob, so I've given you a minute's extra content there. We do try to get started as quickly as we can. Thank you everybody for listening in. Groves against Smith will be coming up next week. There's an absolute pile of value of the weeks as well, so plenty to keep us going. At least two guests will be joining us. The first one around 10 past 8. So let's get straight in then. Joshua against Povetkin. Listen to the post-fight pod last night, everybody, if you want real in-depth stuff. We did a bit of Nera there. Andy was on, Ozzy was on, Smido, Dave, Gabe, Rob Kelly, a couple of others. So you'll be able to hear exactly what we thought. So we might brush over a few things tonight. Go and listen to the post-fight pod. That was when the Joshua Povetkin stuff was really discussed in depth. Ben, you were there last night with your camera, with Azim, getting all footage. Wembley, it was pretty rainy from what I could see. Did you get soaked, Ben? If not, what happened in the ring? Did you enjoy what you witnessed?
No, we didn't get soaked at Wembley. The way that it's organised is only the national media, sort of the big guys are down at ringside. The rest of the media, YouTubers, online content, we're all in the press box where when the football's on, most of the media will watch it and they've got the little screens in front of them. So we were sat back there. It was a good view, but for boxing, it wasn't really ideal. And the screens have delays so that are in front of you, the little ones. It wasn't great, but we didn't get wet, fortunately. We were covered and we had a little room with refreshments in and whatnot. As for the card, it didn't live up to what it was billed to be. I missed the first fight because getting into Wembley was an absolute nightmare with the security. But, asking Okolie was the worst fight I've ever seen live. It was just, I can't even remember if anyone threw a punch in that fight. Just two guys hugging for 12 rounds. And that wasn't obviously down to asking. It was Okolie who made it horrible. And I think everybody was shocked that he wasn't sort of disqualified. You know, he had the 3 points docked and whatnot, and he used his head and his shoulder and everything he could really, except boxing skills. So that was an absolute nightmare to watch. Campbell, Mende also wasn't too much fun to watch. A lot of people, especially in the sort of boxing, sort of the Sky team especially, were really excited about that fight. And a few of the other boxers I'd spoken to during the week were excited about that fight. But it didn't sort of turn into what everyone expected. Mende sort of did well in the first few rounds, and then Campbell started slowly to creep in. He was doing well with his work to the body, Campbell, and good lateral movement and things. But it wasn't an exciting fight. I know one person in the media had it quite close, almost a draw, he said afterwards, but I didn't really see it like that. I didn't get to keep an eye on every single round in detail or score it because I was running around doing all sorts of different things. But yeah, I had it a bit wider. Main event, AJ got wobbled in the first round there. Had that, you could see straight away that his nose had taken some damage. In the post-fight presser, he said it wasn't broken, it had been examined, and he said Takam had sort of softened it up, but it was just, he was obviously bleeding from it. And they said afterwards that he had a cold. I listened to the post-fight audio again just now, and from the presser, and you can hear him sniffling a bit, and I'm not sure whether that's from the blood or from the damage or whether he actually did have a cold. When I interviewed him on Thursday after the presser, he was fine. He didn't seem, like he had any sort of, sniffles or anything like that. He was talking normally and everything. So I don't know whether that's true or not. Whether, people said he was at 80% yesterday. He wasn't, 100% fit. But he looked slow. His combinations weren't very good to start with. He was trying to land those shots to the body of Povetkin, and he did eventually get through there. And I suppose he did well to come back with the injured nose and getting caught with those left hooks early on. He did well to come back and sort of stop Povetkin as he did. And I noticed, I think I mentioned it to you, Steve, yesterday, he caught him with a shot to the back of the head. That was the last one that actually put him down. But I think that was more because of the way things were going, and Povetkin was sort of stumbling at the time, couldn't quite keep his feet. But the card really didn't live up to the hype. I think, Steve, when you wrote the sort of post-fight preview for my site, we gave it a 7 for the card. When we looked at it beforehand, it was like a 2 afterwards, wasn't it? And you're just giving that to the fact that AJ was did what he did in the last fight. Post-fight, Eddie sort of said about Wilder, he has to agree to the fight before December if he wants to have it for April, which I told Eddie that's ridiculous because fans are going to sort of say that he's putting roadblocks up, and he insisted he wasn't putting roadblocks up, but I don't think anyone's going to see it that way. I think it's a roadblock. He knows that probably isn't possible, and they're just looking for ways to probably make that White fight in April. They're not even mentioning Chisora, even though that fight's going to happen in December, White Chisora 2 on the same day as Frampton. They're not even mentioning that, but I think it's pretty much certain that we'll see White versus Joshua in April at Wembley.
I would imagine so. Ben mentioned Eddie Hearn there. Ben has recorded a bit of audio with Eddie, which I am uploading currently. So that's maybe why I'm sounding a little bit choppy. Apologies if that's the case. Andy, the chubby loser, was on to me on Twitter earlier. He said, can we address the scoring issues? You know, the fact that they had it so wide. Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, I think I seen Ian Dark on Twitter and that, whose views on boxing I actually respect. He's one of the real people and commentators who wouldn't really kind of get involved in the hype. He basically, I think it might be Ozzy maybe mentioned it actually, but he'd actually stated that a lot of people ringside had it quite close. Many had it, Povetkin by 2. It was just absolutely clear that I tweeted out last night there was no way they were going to have that fight going to be anywhere sort of kind of close in the cards. I mean, to have it 4-2 to Joshua is an absolute stretch, but to have it 5-1 to Joshua is an absolute fucking outrage. And I don't care what type of level or judge we're talking about here. I don't care if experienced or inexperienced. That should be getting called into question. We had it with the Klitschko fight. We've now had it with the Povetkin fight. That is absolutely deplorable. There is no way you cannot find more than 2 rounds for Alexander Povetkin in that fight last night. At best, after 4 rounds, it should have been level. There's no way that Povetkin was 5-1 down and Joshua won 5 out the first 6. That's absolutely impossible. We could go on about scorecards constantly and stuff. I really don't know what we're going to do here. We either do what they do in the Super Series, we put ear defenders on them, we get 5 judges, or we put the judges up in a booth in the stadium with action replays to get them to kind of score the fights better than that. Because you and I and people who've went to boxing events, especially ringside and stuff, will know if you sit and you're sat at one side of the ring and you didn't get other angles and stuff. Burns against Gonzalez is a prime example. Body shots that looked like they were landing on Burns on the TV were actually blocked from my view at ringside and stuff, so it can actually kind of change the fight. But there's absolutely no way that off last night that doesn't matter what view you had. There's no way Joshua won 5-1. Won 5 of those first 6 rounds. No way. It's impossible.
I think I gave him 2 rounds yesterday. I think we were me and Azim were talking about on the way home, and we were saying sort of 4 rounds to 2. We thought was okay, but because we were talking about that, someone told us, I think it was Omar from IFL, told us that one of the judges had scored it 5 rounds to 1. And I was shocked when I heard that myself. It's ridiculous. And like you say, Andy, we see it in football where they're implementing new technology, and we understand from boxing we have these sort of traditions and things, but we need to have it brought in because the judging's getting ridiculous, and obviously with the elements of corruption that can creep in quite easily into boxing, we need that sort of there to protect the fighters and give them what they deserve. A lot of these fighters put everything that they've got, lives are sort of on the line, and we can't have sort of anything like this.
Careers are on the line, mate. I mean, a guy's fighting himself into a position and that he might not have the financial backing or the promoter to push him any further. This is his one and only chance, and then they go and rob him when the car's like that. It's disgraceful. It's disgusting. Sorry, Steve.
No, not at all, Andy. No problem at all. Andy's just talking about the fight last night. Delighted to have Billy Nelson on the call. How are you, Billy?
I'm fine, thank you.
Excellent stuff. Glad to have you back. One of the top trainers in the UK is Billy. We're talking about the Anthony Joshua, Alexander Povetkin fight from last night. I'm assuming you saw it, Billy. What did you make of it?
I thought it was a very good performance by Anthony Joshua. As I expected, I thought Povetkin would come out quite quick. I actually thought Povetkin won the first couple of rounds, and he did seem to tire at the end of the 5th. Get into the 6th round as well, and Anthony managed to finish him off in excellent fashion.
Povetkin was obviously a lot smaller, but he used that to his advantage, bobbing and weaving, dropping a few feints in. He did well strategically.
Well, he's a very good fighter. I mean, you don't win Olympic gold medals and world championships and only lose one out of how many fights that Wizzy's had without being an excellent fighter. But there's a very true saying, a good big one will beat a good wee one.
And we're looking at Joshua now fighting again, possibly in April. Wishful thinking, if we think it's going to be the winner of Wilder against Fury, you know, whenever that fight is consummated. Do you think it'll be someone like Dillian White they'll get in next, Billy?
You've got to think that's the favourite, wouldn't you? But, and, you know, with the fullest of respect to Dillian, he's won a couple of eliminators, so he deserves a wee shot, doesn't he? He deserves a shot.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll beat Anthony Joshua. I think it'll be the same result, if not quicker this time. But he's earned the right to get there, so he deserves his shot.
Yeah, we were saying that ourselves. You know, I suppose it's testament to the heavyweight division. Dillian, to be fair, he has a good win over Parker. He has a win over Chisora. He beat Helenius, for whatever you think about that. He is getting the wins in at the end of the day, so he deserves a shot as much as anybody else.
I know, you can never let a criticism on if he's really good. I mean, Brown should never have been in the ring with him. He was very unfit, out of condition, very poor on the night. Helenius just didn't want to fight. He was as well sitting in his living room. Parker was 30 seconds away from beating him. And the Chisora fight was very contentious, wasn't it? I personally had Chisora winning it.
And they're talking now about fighting the rematch in December the 22nd on the same night as Warrington against Frampton. So you'd think that the winner of that, which they're expecting to be White again, would then get the Joshua fight.
Well, why would everybody expect White just to turn up and beat him when it was so close the first time? And especially after Derek done so well against Taka. And I'm not in any way trying to, it sounds as though I'm trying to give Derek a hard time here, but far from it, he's done exceptionally well. But why would everybody think that he's just to turn up and beat Derek Chisora? That might not be the case. And if Derek Chisora wins, does he then fight Anthony Joshua?
Yeah, that's
would the demand be there for that fight?
I don't think so. Now, I know that a lot of the fans were chanting Derek's name after he knocked out Takam, but I think that, I don't know what you think, Billy, I think Derek Chisora, trying to put him in a big pay-per-view against Anthony Joshua would be a tough sell, I think.
Well, you know, but here's my point. He fought a very, very, very close fight against Derek Chisora, and he also fought a very close fight against Parker. Another 30 seconds and he was beat. Yeah. Another clean shot and Dillian was out. You know, he would have been beaten. So does he deserve a massive pay-per-view? It does, because he's got the wins. But will it be competitive? I have my concerns.
That's the question. Let's go on to December the 1st. We're expecting Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury to fight that night. Who wins, in your opinion, Billy, between Fury and Wilder?
Well, I'd love to see Tyson Fury win because he's a right character and you know, he's a good big fighter. But you know, inactivity's been a big thing in the last 3 years for him. And saying that, Deontay Wilder's only fought maybe once in the last year, hasn't he? Mm-hmm. But it might not be as big an issue as what I think. But on recent form, you've got to go with Deontay Wilder. But I'd like to see Tyson Fury win.
Just remind our listeners, we've got Billy Nelson on the call at Billy Nelson Box over on Twitter. Just a couple more questions for you, Billy. You obviously have your own big heavyweight, Martin Okolie. Find him at Martin Okolie 4 over on Twitter. I believe he was doing a bit of big time sparring before the Joshua Povetkin fight. How did that go?
It was fantastic. It was honestly, it was exceptional. The best heavyweight sparring I've ever witnessed. It was really of the top draw, and then we went down and sparred Hughie Fury as well. We're going down to spar Daniel Deboe this week, and then Hughie Fury the week after. So Martin Okolie is going to be in A1 condition for Michael Hunter, and I really hope he puts on on Channel 5 what he's all about.
Obviously, you tell us how good Okolie is. Does this give you confidence, Billy, seeing him going in against these high-level opponents in sparring? That really, vindicates the faith and belief you have in him?
Well, it's not just my faith. I mean, Peter Fury's telling me, speaking highly of him to me, as does Rob McCracken, Don Charles, Martin Bowers. So, they're real boxing men and they appreciate good fighters. And they've all told me the same as what I'm telling you on Twitter. We all can be wrong, can we?
No, exactly. Tell us about the Michael Hunter fight then. Obviously, he showed in the past that he's a very good fighter. This will be a tough test for Martin.
I think it will be. Hunter, he's fast. But, as I've said to people, Martin Okolie is very fast. He's very skillful. He's naturally gifted as a boxer. It's surreal watching him at times, and I think he'll just be ultimately, as I said earlier, a good big one against a good weird one. And I personally fully expect Martin to knock him out before the end of the 6th round. If he doesn't beat him out, knock him out. Sorry, I think he'll give him kittens for 10 rounds.
Just going back to the undercard last night, Billy, I'm sure you saw the Askin against the Okolie fight. What did you make of the spectacle, and who was to blame for it being that way?
Well, I think most boxers, most folk, and quite rightly so, are proportioning the blame on Lance Okolie. He was more or less instigator, but the boy Haskins, he was doing a bit of hitting behind the head as well. That never get pulled up by the referee. But my interpretation of the rules was you get a point deducted for each infringement. You get a point deducted for the use of the head, and then you get a point deducted for holding. See, the second time you get a point deducted for holding, it should be 2 points, as far as I was aware. It should be 2 points, and then if you do it again, you're disqualified.
Do you think there was a case for him to be disqualified, Billy? Do you think?
Well, not unless you get the sub warning for the same infringement. I mean, it was a poor. Let's be honest, it wasn't. I don't think either of them are going to be happy with the winner, and especially poor Matty for losing his title. You know what I mean? What a horrible way to lose your title.
Well, this is what
in a fight where he couldn't fight.
Aye. I mean, he's a very experienced guy and he seemed unable, I felt sorry for him to be dealing with the size and the awkwardness and the spidery reach of Okolie. If you were in the corner, Billy, you saw that transpiring with your fighter, what type of advice would you give to him? How would you tell him to fight a guy like Okolie?
Well, I would have told him to try and move his feet and use angles. But, Okolie's very, very big for the weight. But, you say Okolie should have used his reach. He didn't use his reach because he was throwing a jab, occasionally throwing the 1-2 and then holding on. He instigated the holding on. It was 1-2, hold on. That's what it appeared to me anyway.
Yeah, you're right. You are right. I meant with his reach was, you're quite right. It wasn't the jab. It was like sort of the length of his arms grabbing onto Askin and sort of pulling him into a clinch.
And then walking him back to the ropes and holding on for as long as he possibly could. It wasn't nice to watch, was it? It wasn't. And I feel sorry for Matty Haskins as well. I mean, he said that he's going to appeal to the board, but nothing will change that result. It's just the way one judge gave him it was about 8 rounds or something like that, and that was mine. So if you take away the 3-point deduction, they've basically said he's won 11 out of 12 rounds.
Very frustrating indeed. Final question, Billy, and we thank you for your time. Tell us about Canelo Golovkin. The big rematch was last week. A lot of people were frustrated about that for different reasons. How did you score it? How did you see the fight, Canelo Golovkin 2, Billy?
Well, I had 500 quid in Canelo, and I've seen him winning it for 2 rounds, and I went and collected my money on Monday. So I was very happy about it.
Brilliant. He did well, didn't he, Canelo? A lot of people were saying afterwards that you have to really do something, knock him out maybe to get the decision. Even against Floyd Mayweather, they gave him a draw.
No, listen, it was fight, and whether we do or don't, I'd like to see it again.
Yeah, a third fight. Yeah.
If it's as good as that fight, then we're in for another treat, aren't we?
Yeah, certainly will be. I want to see it again as well. At Billy Nelson Box, everybody. One final plug, Billy, if you want, about Martin's fight. It's on Channel 5, isn't it?
It's on Channel 5, and it's it's at Martin Okolie 17 now.
All right, he's changed, has he, yeah?
But something happened to his password. He forgot his password or something, I can't remember. But it's at Martin Okolie 17 now.
Okay.
And we're live at York Hall on the 13th of October on Channel 5.
Brilliant stuff, Billy. We appreciate you coming on and talking to us. All the best on October for Martin and for yourself, and we'll no doubt speak to you again soon.
Thanks very much. All the best.
Cheers. Bye now. Billy Nelson there, back on with us for the second time. It's always good to hear the trainer's point of view, even about things like Askin and Okolie. Yeah, I worded it a little bit wrong. That was the thing with Okolie. Even though he had the long arms, he wasn't using the jab. He was using them to Henry Akinwande style, sort of grab hold of Askin. We'll talk about to you about that shortly, Ozzy. I know you have your own thoughts and feelings. We've been going back and forward, not just on last night's pod, but on the chat and stuff today. Tell me, first of all, though, about Joshua and Povetkin. I suppose, Ozzy, with Canelo last week and Povetkin this week, both putting in quality displays, is not being on roids now the new roids?
It clearly is. I mean, I think we all said last week that, I think there may be one or two of can't remember who said that Joshua blasted out Povetkin pretty early, but the majority of us felt that Povetkin was coming to win and he would cause problems early, and he did exactly that. And he put in a display that maybe a few people, when he was off the juice, thought he wouldn't be able to produce, because I think in his last couple of ones, I mean, he destroyed David Price, and the hype clearly put a spin on it to say he was hurt, but he wasn't hurt. And I think a couple of performances before that, when he essentially just come off like a ban, he did look poor. But then last night he looked excellent. He caused Joshua a lot of problems. He landed the left hook at will at times, likewise with the straight right hand over the top, from which he used off the jab. And I was really impressed. However, I was more impressed by the way Joshua, he dealt with it, because he had some uncomfortable times. I mean, I thought he broke his nose, and that was a mess. And he was tagged pretty often, but he recovered. He started to establish his distance. He attacked the body well, and I think that definitely slowed down Povetkin. And then the finish was absolutely outstanding. And I'll give it to Joshua. When he smells blood, he really does get him out of there. And the finish on Povetkin, who we all know can take a shot, was simply superb. And it was a great spectacle. And it was a good fight. I did enjoy it. I completely agree with what Andy said. I just don't understand the judges' cards. I think it's quite disrespectful for someone of Povetkin's caliber to say he only had one round out of the first six was pretty bizarre, to be honest. I actually had Povetkin 4-2 up out of 6. I've seen quite a few people saying 3-3 as well. So again, that's just a round difference from my card there. So I can't really disagree with that. But to give him one round is downright disrespectful and quite frankly wrong. And we are seeing it now. I mean, the Joseph Parker fight, I think he only had one round as well. And a lot of well-respected people who I speak to and obviously connected in the industry had the Parker fight with Joshua relatively close, and the judges completely saw something different. So is Joshua essentially the UK's Canelo from where, like you said, it simply seems nigh on impossible to get a decision against him? Do you need to knock him out? Now, at the moment, we've not had to really experience that. He's only gone to points once, and I felt Joshua was probably a deserved winner, but not in the distance he was against Parker. In terms, I think it was 10-1 or something. Now, what I've always said is I would actually get rid of ringside judging, and I would put 3 officials in their own booths, and they will score off monitors, because I will put them in silent booths so they can't hear anything, no commentary, and then they get the best angles of everything. And I think that's when we may see better results. Because like you say, when you've got 3 judges, different angles in the ring, you can only see certain things. And I mean, mine could be completely wrong, but this is what I would do. And I would put them in their own booths where they're on their own. There's no influences. They simply watch a screen and score the fight off that. It may not work, but I think something needs to be done about these cards as well, because it's, like I said, it's not just, we're not just seeing, for example, journeymen being jobbed out of, like a rare away win on the road. We're seeing people in big fights, breakout fights, or their opportunity to win a world title ultimately scuppered before they even get in the ring, because seemingly they've absolutely no chance of getting anything on the cards. Referring back to last week, Golovkin, Canelo, over the two fights, Golovkin's had one judge score it in favour of him. As Frank would say, do me a favour.
Do me a favour. Good catchphrase there, Ozzy. Shout out to Marcus Bellinger, a friend of the pod, has been on before as well. He said, just to remind everybody, a free and legal stream, we like them, of tomorrow's WBO flyweight title fight between Sho Kimura and Kosi Tanaka will be available courtesy of @Asian Boxing. So @Asian Boxing, Andy, we've got Sho Kimura against Kosi Tanaka, WBO flyweight title fight stream.
8 a.m. tomorrow morning. I see WBO also advertising it as well for Asian Boxing. So asianboxing.com, I think it is.
Yes, he gave me the Twitter handle @Asian Boxing. So I suppose if you're on Twitter, go over to that and you'll be able to find that. I'll be starting work at 8 o'clock, so I don't know if I'll be able to see it. Will you be watching it, Andy?
Yeah, I'll probably try and get up early, mate. I usually try and get the bairn ready for school and that, so I'll need to be up kind of sharpish. So hopefully it doesn't go a distance, because I need to leave at 8:30.
Yeah, Ross Sutherland was in touch. If I miss anything out, by the way, questions or values or anything, guys, I've absolute pile of them coming in, so apologies. Ross F. Sutherland was asking, is Asylum Tommy going to be on? It's been ages. Tommy apparently will be back on as the nights draw to a close and he's not getting up so early.
Balls deep in the Philippines, that's where he is.
Hi. No doubt. No doubt indeed. Right, as I said earlier, Ben had sent us in a clip from Eddie. Lasts about a minute and a half. Let's play it right now and hear what Eddie had to say last night.
There's never been any disruptions to the career of Anthony Joshua. Everything has been absolute, solid, step by step. We're not waiting for time wasters. What we're saying is we'll negotiate a fight now. If you lose, we understand we have to find another opponent. But if you win, we're not waiting until December. These aren't negotiations that are going to take 24 hours. So I'm not having the career of Anthony Joshua slowed down by people slow playing a deal. If they want the deal, and we've opened talks now with Shelley Finkel as well, we can make it happen for April. You go and have your fight, you go and win, but subject to you winning, and we'll have someone else in place in April as well. But we're not going to waste our time. We're going to progress the career, but note the resume of the people he's fighting while we're supposedly waiting. He's not just boxing off easy competition. He's fighting the very best in the world. Number 2 wasn't available. We couldn't make that deal. He boxed number 3. And guess what? When he boxed Joseph Parker, he was number 3 in the Ring magazine. So what more has he got to do?
Presumably, though, you'll negotiate with Fury as well. Because otherwise...
No, because he'll have a rematch clause. So if Fury wins, good luck to him. It's not really what we want, because we want to fight Wilder. So, but again, we get the negotiations done. We get a deal in place for April, subject to victory. And if they don't want to do that, then we fight someone else in April. And then we box again in November, December. He's not going anywhere. He's had 22 fights. These heavyweights calling him out, even ex-heavyweights, criticising Anthony Joshua. Where were they after 22 fights? Did they have a resume like him? Absolutely not.
Eddie, even Ozzy, laying down some facts there. Any comments on what he was talking about? It's hard to cut through the spin. I suppose some of what he said was fair enough. What do you think?
Well, what I do disagree with is that I think he's laid down basically a rule that he wants a fight with Wilder agreed pre-December or in December ahead of April. Now, in reality, that's not going to happen, because at the end of the day, they're going to fight Tyson Fury in December. That's not a foregone conclusion. And you tell me somebody who is in defending their world title against a live opponent, this isn't some shitty mandatory, like a Kevin Bizier type caliber where we expect and pretty much guarantee a win. Fury is a live opponent in this. So there is no chance that Shelley Finkel and Deontay Wilder are going to start planning ahead and arranging and agreeing all terms for a fight in April against Anthony Joshua, whilst he's still got to box in December. They want it agreed by December and early December as well. It's simply not going to happen. It's not going to happen, and it doesn't work like that. This isn't a case of a champion getting a run out, an 8-rounder, ahead of, right, if he wins this happens. Or Sam Eggington, when he boxed that guy from Tanzania a couple of weeks ago. This is essentially a tick-over because we're going to announce Brandon Rios. We're talking about a basically for all the belts, the heavyweight belts. This is going to happen when both guys have got no fights lined up, because in terms of negotiations, not whilst they've got one, not whilst Wilder's fighting in December. It just doesn't work like that. And I mean, if it does, great, and it's fine. But the whole thing gets ripped up if Fury wins anyway, because there's a rematch clause. Now, I know that these can be avoided and people can be paid off, etc., things like that. But there's not a chance that Wilder will be paid off if he loses, because he'll want to go straight back in there and get his belt back. So for me, I just think it's a silly stumbling block. I would get the fight out of the way and then open negotiations, because you can negotiate once the fight has gone. And if Wilder wins, go through December and then into January. This fight is not going to struggle selling out. You will not need to market it. As soon as it's signed, those tickets will go. They will be gold dust. So there's nothing to worry about like that. And we all know for a fact that Dillian Whyte is essentially penciled in for April anyway. He's already said we'll get someone else basically on standby. So what, they're going to have someone like Whyte on standby in case the Wilder fight falls through. It's not going to happen. And it's silly little things like that scupper deals. And I just don't understand it. At the end of the day, Matchroom side say, we want to fight Wilder. Wilder, we want to fight Joshua. Then make it happen. The two fighters want it. It's clearly behind the scenes where we're encountering all these problems with silly clauses and silly terms like that. It needs to be agreed before he fights Fury. But it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
You need to remember, Hearn also mentioned, or even Daddy mentioned, that this fight could be knocked back 50 million, because we could look back and maybe earn 250 million. So we could look back at that and say, oh, thank God we didn't accept that 50 million. This is a guy who made a flat offer, $12.5 million to Wilder, when a fight that generate $102 or $200 million. We're here because of fucking Hearn.
Yeah, it's a situation where I think we will always encounter politics with it. I get that. That will happen. And that is the nature of this sport. I don't agree it's a 50-50 for everything Wilder says. Joshua is a huge attraction in this country. Probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, we've ever seen. And he pulls it. Like I said, I always say you could put a cow in a ring with Anthony Joshua and people will pay to watch it. It's simple as he is that big an attraction, people will pay to watch it. So in terms of a split, and I don't think Wilder will come in and want 50%. I think if he gets a certain amount, he'll be happy. I think they've already admitted that, and they know they're the B-side, really. So fingers crossed some common sense prevails, because we all want to see the fight. We all want to see the winner of Fury Wilder in with Anthony Joshua in April. There is no other fight anybody should want to see. Dillian Whyte couldn't care about. If this fight can be made, this is the only fight that we should be wanting to see. Nothing else.
Yeah, hopefully Fury Wilder, I suppose, will be agreed soon. I wonder what the lasting effects will be on Fury if it isn't. We need to get it signed soon. I know that Fury's blocked Eddie on Twitter. He's blocked DAZN. He's blocked Matchroom. He's had the big layoff already. We've got the PED issues, the mental health issues, the cocaine issues. It's been a whole roller coaster for Fury, but he's back now, and it's time to move on. He needs to fight. I know he feels that he was castigated and everything, and the whole world's against him and all that. But I mean, I suppose if he come out at the end of the day and say the type of things he said to a national newspaper, it's naive to think that they wouldn't run with a story like that, and people wouldn't get on his back and all that type of stuff. It's finished now. He's got to, stop people like me talking about it and move on. I just want to see. The point is, I want to see Fury against Wilder just sorted out. Andy, we've got a few comments in actually from the people over on the Facebook page. Let's bring them up. I always like hearing from Toby Hines. He said, clear vulnerability shown again, and it feels like a matter of time. He's talking about Joshua. I cannot think of examples of fighters who continuously show weaknesses, as AJ is every time at the new higher level he competes in. He will come a cropper sooner rather than later. Paul Massingham gave it a 6.5 out of 10 last night, going along our sliding scale. AJ did well to get back in the fight and finish the way he did, but what if that was Wilder in the early rounds? Would he have stayed on his feet? I still don't think he will fight Wilder next. Maybe Big Baby Miller or White, says Paul Massingham. Dan Dodge, if that was Wilder in there, AJ, would he have stayed on his feet? Doubtful, says Dan Dodge. At the end of the day, Joshua will always get stick, but at this stage in his career, 22 fights, 6 title defences, another great knockout finish. Fair play, says Dan. And finally, in this little segment, 7 out of 10 from Lee Greenwood over on the Facebook page. I thought it was a decent performance from AJ. Povetkin was always going to be dangerous for a few rounds. AJ took some big shots, so maybe he's not hiding as much glass as we first thought. I think somebody said that last night, and actually, I might agree with that, actually. But not sure if he stands up to Wilder's power. Would agree with that as well, should they fight next year. But can Wilder take AJ's power? That's another good question from Lee Greenwood. When it gets going, he's pretty ruthless, is Joshua. Andy, one thing Povetkin did well last night, I thought, was the feinting. It's an underrated part of the boxing makeup, isn't it, feinting? I know Jim Watt always used to go on about dropping the feint, drawing the lead and countering off it. But he was right, the old Watty, wasn't he? And I think Povetkin dropped the feints really well last night, and Joshua fell for quite a few of them. He's not going to have to worry about that against Wilder. I don't think he'll be dropping too many feints.
No, I can see Wilder actually just doing what he did against Ortiz. He's constantly kind of cage on the back foot, just kind of like pulling out with that jab, not even really a jab, just kind of make it a nuisance, make it a blockage. He's going to just be basically looking for the right hand all night long. That's pretty much how Povetkin was trying to kind of, like, as you say, rolled in there and try to leap into the left hook and that. But in the end, I think Joshua, it's probably a combination of two things. One, that Povetkin was starting to kind of gas, and maybe Joshua started getting, a wee bit more savvy, maybe kind of grew into the fight, kind of seen what was coming more, kind of had a better chance to look at what Povetkin had to offer, and then kind of like figure out what he was going to come with and how he was going to jab, how he was going to throw the hook and stuff. And I thought he did pretty well, kind of like, as probably Billy Nelson mentioned actually when they started the gas around about the 5th and 6th. Joshua was kind of like, he was backing off, he was kind of backing to the side or stepping out to the side, and that as Povetkin was trying to kind of leap in with the left hooks and the left uppercuts and stuff. So, by that, if you can draw a feint on Joshua, you can get him to commit good and well, then all you got to do is just bang the right hand in the middle. And if Wilder can draw that feint, it's possible. But really, I would make Joshua against Wilder a 50-50 fight purely on the fact is, I think it really depends who lands first. Whoever hurts the person bad enough for the other person to basically follow up and ice the fight, I think whoever can do that first is going to win that fight. It's really as a fight. It's who lands first and who can follow up. Really looking forward to that one. But as the guys are saying, I don't think we'll see that fight till 2020. Next year's just going to be more bluster and bullshit. Probably the worst thing could happen for this fight actually not to happen would be Fury beating Wilder, especially with the rematch clause, as Eddie said to Ben. So really, you would think, for this fight to happen next, you'd want Wilder to win. But even then, there's no guarantee, because we're going to have a lot of many months back to and fro about contracts, percentages, venues, fucking press conferences, all this sort of, all the kind of A-side bullshit you got to put up with and stuff. So, I wouldn't be surprised, but we're in September, next week, a couple of weeks to October. I wouldn't be surprised if we're still sitting here this time next year talking about this fight and it still hasn't happened.
Yeah, regular contributor James Bernard has jumped in on this one. He said, I can't grasp how anyone is thinking straight when making an analysis of a possible Wilder versus AJ fight. I think, do they think that Joshua can stay away from Wilder's bombs for 12 rounds? He only has to catch him once. If AJ's defence is as loose as it was tonight against a genuine banger, he gets erased in 3 rounds, says James. And Lee and Gail Davis say, jointly, I get the despise for the AJ hype, but I feel like everyone forgets how flawed Wilder is. Other than that devastating power, he doesn't offer anything else in terms of competition. Much more interested in seeing AJ deal with a tricky Fury. Wilder, I only see AJ winning inside 6 rounds. Another good performance from Joshua. Joining us on the call now, second guest of the evening. Delighted to have our friend John Ryder back. How are you, John?
Hi, mate. I'm not too bad. You?
I'm keeping very well. Thanks for joining us. We're talking about AJ against Povetkin last night. I trust you saw it, John. What did you make of AJ's performance?
I don't think it was vintage AJ. Povetkin had his moments, but then AJ showed his worth and he come through for a good win.
Yeah, he used the jab pretty well, especially to the body, to set up the shots. And he's a clinical finisher, isn't he, AJ, when he gets someone on the ropes?
Yeah, I mean, he smells blood and he really does go for it. So he's got all the natural instincts of a true champion like he is. And I think he's only getting better with age, really.
And what are we looking at next then? Possibly we're talking the winner, Dillian White, Derek Chisora in April, maybe Big Baby Miller, somebody like that, John?
To be honest, I think Big Baby Miller, I don't see what the fuss is about. I think he needs to get up his credentials a bit before he starts shouting all these big names off. I think he needs to fight someone, a proper heavyweight. But yeah, I mean, you can see the winner of White Chisora getting in there. But I mean, I would like to see the winner of Fury and Deontay Wilder, to be honest.
And they're talking about that for early December. In your opinion, John, who's going to win that one, Deontay Wilder or Tyson Fury? Who you got?
It's a real hard call, do you know what I mean? I would like Fury to have a few more fights, maybe have another year fighting at the level below and just getting his hand in a bit more. But you know what? He's a fighter who wants to come back at the top, so he's got his confidence is sky high. So I think he'll do it.
Yeah, we've had quite a few comments coming in on the Facebook page and also in the chat. A lot of mixed opinions. Many people think that Wilder is so wild, unpredictable. When he comes in and throws the big bombs, he'll catch AJ and knock him out. But it'll be a real battle of power to see who can land first. Wilder, do you think he has? Is he going to knock AJ out? Is AJ going to knock Wilder out? What do you think is going to happen?
So, I think that's a real battle of who lands first. And the difference with Fury is he's a real smart defensive fighter. He's a bit of a throwback to Klitschko, how he was for so many years. He perfected the jab, lean back, and not get hit. And I think Fury's got that now himself, and he can get into a fight without taking much punishment. Whereas AJ will meet Wilder head on, and they'll both go swinging away.
Just before we look at your career, John, on the undercard, did you see anything of Luke Campbell against Ivan Mende? Any opinions on that one?
Yeah, I just thought it was Luke Campbell just not taking too many risks, just being sensible and just making sure he got the win.
And what about Askin against Okolie? Obviously, it was a difficult fight to watch. I mean, if you were in that position, you're southpaw, obviously. Askin's orthodox. How would you deal with someone like Okolie being so big for the weight and so spidery?
It was impossible, wasn't it? I mean, I was getting frustrated watching. Like, you can't think how they felt. And listen, I'm pretty sure Okolie didn't sit out to box like that. It just happened that way. And Askin never thought in his wildest dreams the fight would happen like it did. But you got to remember, Okolie is a relative novice, as it happens as a pro fighter. He had limited amateur experience, although he went to the Olympics. And as a pro, 10 fights in, he's fighting for the British title. I mean, he has done a lot in a small time. But people expect a lot better of him. But listen, he's still learning on the job, and he can't have too many more performances like that. And I'm sure he won't, because promoters and powers that be won't allow him to be on big levels fight like that. But he'll learn. It's just a shame for Askin. You know what I mean? He's coming off a few good wins. The stoppage of Simmons was a great win for him, and so he looks like he can really kick on. But hopefully, he can get another crack at the British once Lauren's moved on and win it outright.
And what about Big David Price? He had to go against Kuzmin. He retired with a bicep injury. He's got knocked out a few times. Do you maybe think the big lad should hang it up? Or, I mean, what do you reckon?
Do you know what? It's a real shame because I spoke to Ollie yesterday and I said that I thought this was going to be David's night last night. He was going to just prove all the doubters wrong and really get a win under his belt and just really revive his career. So now he's talking about having a year out and coming back. And I just don't see what there is for him to come back to at this stage now. He's coming off a lot of losses, and I thought like this was really his time to kick on. And like he says, after he's gone into the fight with an injury, I know at late notice, but he shouldn't really be doing it, especially at his stage of his career. Every fight really counts.
Yeah, good point. We'll be talking about David Price soon. John Ryder's on the call with us, everybody. _John_Ryder_ over on Twitter. Let's look at your career then, John. A big fight coming up for you on the 27th of October. Andrei Sirotkin in the Copper Box Arena. You must be buzzing for this one.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's nice to have a name. I mean, I knew I was fighting on that date for a number of weeks, but finally got the name through and a good undefeated fighter. I mean, I've seen bits of him. He looks terrible, to be fair, when you watch him, but you can just tell he's going to be one of them spidery, unorthodox counter punchers who just don't stand there and trade with you. He's on the move all the time. You got no looking for him, and he's going to be a real awkward opponent.
Yeah, I've had a look at his box rec. He hasn't got that many knockouts. A couple of names that we note on his record, but they're guys who have maybe seen better days. Gayard, Ajatovic, I remember him boxing on the UK scene back in the day. And also Ricardo Mayorga, probably too high in weight. But a couple of wins he's had, John, against this Sati Baldiev. That was a bit of a Russian grudge match there, and he got rid of him. And then he won a unanimous decision over Canada's Ryan Ford in his last fight. And he's quite a decent operator as well, 14-1. So he has a little bit of experience there, and you expect him to cause him some problems, some problems.
Yeah, I looked at Ryan Ford fight, and he was getting away with a lot in his hometown. He was holding a lot and not really engaging. Ryan Ford was looking for him and looking to go to war, and he just weren't standing there. And he was holding a lot and filling, and things that the referee should have been picking up on. He got away with, and I feel like he kind of nicked a win that night.
Is there some kind of title on the line? Is this a final eliminator, or what's the status?
Yeah, this is a WBA final eliminator. Told for Groves and Smith. I don't know what the difference is between final eliminator for that or Rocky's title, but a final eliminator. So looking forward to it. Yeah,
Groves and Smith are obviously fighting on Friday night. Who you got?
You know what? Another one. We're all 50-50. I'm on the fence for splinters here. It's just few matters really. It depends how Smith's done in camp. I mean, I feel like he's a big super middleweight. I don't know how easy it finds it to make the weight. How is George's shoulder going to hold up? It's just all depends on the night.
Are you in the 168-pound division? Just looking at some of the other champions, obviously David Benavidez is the WBC champion. He has plenty of problems to deal with out of the ring at the moment. You're ranked just in the top 15 of the IBF as well. That's Jose Uzcategui, who I actually rate. I think he's a really good fighter. And then the WBO is Gilberto Ramirez. What do you make of those three guys and the scene in general at world level?
Well, it's strong in ways, but weak in the others. Do you know what I mean? Because you look at it now with the WBC, really Benavidez should be getting stripped, so that leaves a vacant title. As Calzaghe were going off his wins against Durrell, where I thought, yeah, he looked good, he looks tough, but he looks well beatable, and he looks like he can be outboxed. So that's another one. And even the likes of Ramirez, you see in his last fight, he was fighting. I can't remember the fellow he was fighting, but he was getting caught left, right, and centre. And I mean, up against a big puncher, you think that he could be got at.
Yeah, I don't want to go too hard in on Ramirez, but I know he's a ticket seller and he's been quite softly matched. I don't really rate him, to be honest.
I can't take away from it. He beat Arthur Abraham for the title. Do you know what I mean? I know Arthur Abraham was past his best, but he still beat a champion to win the title. But I just feel that in his first couple of defences, he's not looked great.
Any of the guys got any questions for John before we let him go? Thanks for John's time. Ozzy or Andy, jump in now. No, not much from the boys there, John. _Ryder_ on Twitter if anybody wants to follow you. Like I said, end of October, Copper Box. Best of luck. How's the training and preparation coming along?
Yeah, it's going really well. Just final 5 weeks of camp now. So, looking forward to it and looking forward to fight night. Yeah,
it's a good stack bill, a good undercard as well. John, thanks very much for joining us as ever, and no doubt we'll get speaking to you again in the future.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All the best now. Cheerio.
Take care. Bye-bye.
John Ryder there, friend of the pod. Thanks for Ozzy for sorting that one out. Good luck to John. He's done things the hard way. I think he's got the beating of those guys. Definitely Ramirez, Benavidez. He likes a bit of the old cocaine. Who doesn't? Well, not me, but anyway, there you go. He's WBC champion. Rocky Fielding, George Groves, Uzcategui. I like Uzcategui, Andy. I think he's really tricky, good fighter.
Tough fighter. Is he actually the full IBF champ now, yeah? Because the guild vacated, so they does upgrade him, yeah?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point, actually, because he was hanging around as like an interim for a while, wasn't he?
Because it's very seldom the IBF make it an interim title and that, so I'm just wondering what situation, because I know his last fight was for an interim title. I noticed this one he's fighting, is it next week? I think he's fighting next week. It's a non-title fight. So I'm just wondering what the situation was with regards to the title, eh?
Yeah, I'm not sure if anybody in the chat knows, then hit us up. What have we got? Nathan Shaw. Nathan, I'm going to keep your question and a couple of other guys' questions about WBSS or heavyweight related matters for next week, when we probably won't have as much going on. We've had John Ryder on already. We've had Billy Nelson. Ozzy's with us. Andy Patterson's with us. You listen to the Nuthouse. 292 is the episode. No Yanks tonight. I don't know where Donny's at or Dave, Gabe. They were on the post-fight pod last night. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up if you're over in the chat. Also, quick shout out, he says. Shout out to our friends over at Against the Ropes Boxing. Go over and find them on Facebook, everybody. Against the Ropes Boxing. Huge Facebook page. Samuel, who owns this page, is a long-time listener of the show, Patreon subscriber, and an all-round good dude. He's going to be coming on a Patreon episode very soon. So Against the Ropes Boxing over on Facebook, and also there's a website as well. So shout out to you, Samuel. Right, Ozzy, anything from the undercard? We didn't really touch on Luke Campbell that much last night. I thought it was pretty routine stuff. You said what you wanted to say about Pricey as well. Maybe think he should jack it in. And I know the chats are going to be going all in on you, Ozzy, but tell us about Okolie asking, for anybody who didn't hear the post-fight last night, your thoughts and opinions on that fight.
Well, it echoes what I think everybody else has said, that it was one of the worst fights I have ever seen. Probably the worst. And I would say that it was all, I'd say 90% of it was from Lawrence Okolie, from where he was just completely boring in, holding. I think he nutted, asking a couple of times as well. And it was just a terrible, terrible watch. And like I said, I've seen a lot of people like Carl Greaves, Adam Booth, Billy Nelson was one of them then. And for me, that Okolie should have been chucked out. And it said it all when Eddie Hearn went to ringside. And I thought it was good from Hearn. He was really honest. And he said himself, he basically said that I'd be taking points off Lawrence because he's just blatantly holding. And Okolie's come out today and said, I need to improve and things like that. And I get he's learning on the job. Nothing against that. But don't put him in an opportunity on a massive pay-per-view fight with 80,000 people there if he's learning on the job. Now, it was for a British title, and at the end of the day, what's he had, 10 or 11 fights now, and he's British and Commonwealth champion. An excellent achievement, and a lot of people will have careers where they will achieve that, and it's a brilliant spectacle and fair play to him, but I think there's a long, long way to go for him. I mean, I don't think it reveals anything of Matty Askin either last night. I mean, he didn't really do a lot, but I don't think he was allowed to because purely it was just a wrestling match and it was awful. And I know you could say, like, oh, yeah, try and do different bits and pieces, but I just simply don't think he was able to because of, like I said, Okolie was just, it's like he was scared to get hit in a way. I think Carl Greaves said this, scared to fight, and it'll be interesting now because I think officials will be keeping a close eye on it because he's not going to be able to fight like that again. It's simple as he's not going to be able to fight like that again. And it's the second time we've seen it because the fight against Isaac Chamberlain wasn't great either. I don't really know where he's going to go next because I don't think people are going to queue up to fight him because he's clearly not easy. He's huge at the weight. He's a big, big bloke. But at the same time, like I said it last night, he won a British title at Wembley in front of 80,000 people and got booed. And that was simply because of the dreadful, dreadful fight and performance that was on show last night.
Yeah, just clearing up the Uzcategui situation, and thanks for that, Ozzy. A few guys in the chat were saying that he was instated when De Gale got rid of the title. Caleb Plant, Mr. Excitement, is the mandatory for Uzcategui, so we'll see about that. Dr. Joseph Ajayo, former friend on the pod, was discussing the fight last night. What is the essence of being swift, stylistic, agile, without no power, strength, stamina, and endurance that will give you victory in the ring? AJ is stronger than anyone. You can run from his power, but you cannot hide from him. Boxing is more of a fight than entertainment. Joseph then went on to say, let us celebrate with a star, Anthony Joshua, that his time has come. Thoroughly endorse that. Like the fact that Dr. Joseph is also doing videos as well now, so have a look for him over on Twitter. Anything from you on the undercard, Andy? I thought that Okolie was just really walking the line. I think the fact that Victor Locklin didn't throw him out was probably just about the right decision. It would have been a bit of an uproar, wouldn't it, and a bit of a controversial decision. He did give him every opportunity and disqualification was coming, but the fact that he didn't throw him out, I I do agree with that. But yeah, what do you do with Okolie, Andy? I mean, asking if he had a rematch, he couldn't do anything with him. Isaac Chamberlain is probably vindicated to a certain extent as well. If you stand off like Luke Watkins, he'll knock you out. But other than that, he'll grab hold of you.
The only thing I'm interested in about Lawrence Okolie from here on in, Steve, would be that he's never on my TV station and he never fights again in my presence, because I never want to see him fight again. The Chamberlain fight was an absolute shitfest. That last night was worse. Putrid. Absolute fucking awful. When I started hearing the scorecards and that, like 116, 110, 140, I said to myself, they're going to get asking here, surely to Christ, because on the 116, 110, for example, that to me suggested like the 110 scorecard was for the guy who'd been deducted all those points. But no, what an awful way to lose your title, and what a horrible way to win a title, by the way. And it's, I said it last night, the only reason he's on that card is because he's signed with Femi. It's pure and utter simple. If he's no way Eddie Hearn, or if he's no way Joshua on that, there's no way he's even fighting for a title. It was his 10th fight, I think it was last night. The only thing I was impressed with, well, semi-impressed with, was Gayazov. Decent enough wee fight. Obviously, there's deficiencies there with his defence and stuff like that. He needs to keep his hands up a little bit. He did get countered a couple of times, did take a few shots and that, but maybe he was just kind of slightly over-eager to impress, and he did impress me a wee bit, but certainly needs to be tightened up a little bit. Campbell, Mende, again, I watched about 4 or 5 rounds of it and that, and it was, I was so angry still for that fucking fight previously, so I kind of like lost interest in that. I said, right, I'll just kind of like sit back and wait for the main event. So other than that, obviously Kuzman and Price was... It was what it was, I suppose, isn't it? Price, we know what we get from him, and Kuzman was a decent amateur, but clearly on like I say, any sort of world level, not in my opinion anyway. That might come in future, but I don't see it. But other than that, I seen Bellew tweeting about it, saying it was another great event and stuff like that. On paper, okay, it was looking good last week, but in the end, it was absolute shit. Victor could have fucking DQ'd Okolie, in my opinion. I think... If you're getting so many warnings before you get a point deducted...
Do you think he should have threatened the disqualification, Andy? Because John Swan made a good point in the chat there. If he'd have actually used the words, remember Richie Davis, he would have gone, if you don't sort yourself out, throw yeah! What I mean? He could have done a bit of that.
Took my point away from him there, mate. I was just going to say Richie Davis, how he handled that first fight against Bellew and Cleverly, because it looked like it was going to get out of hand in that first round with the hold and the clinching and the punches and the rabbit punches and stuff like that. And he just separated. He just got fucking tore in. To some people, that isn't their cup of tea, but to me, that is a referee who's in fucking charge. He's in command. You say, you fucking sort it out now, or I'm going to throw his breath out. I don't give a fuck who you are. Another fighter who gets another referee gets a lot of shit in that. I actually quite like him, is the one for California, Jack Reese. Is it Jack Reese's name is?
Yep.
Yeah, I like him as well. I think he's kind of something similar, just kind of like no nonsense, gets right in the face of the fighters and stuff like that. So he's just cut it out, or I'm going to throw you out. And
wasn't it Andre Ward against there was the big puncher, but he was a bit shit. Was it Rodriguez? Yeah, that was
Rodriguez.
Oh god,
that was a shit fest. That took me like 3 years to watch that fight.
Jack Reese did that one.
I was pausing that one and going back to it. I was shit to watch. But no, as I say, I think guys like Richie Davis, that obviously he had the fallout with the board or whatever and that, but that was one referee, in my opinion. He as a referee, he sorted it out, and he fucking, he just put the foot down and he says, like, cut it fucking out or you're out of here. And by and large, most fighters, obeyed him, and that's what you need. Somebody with a fucking strong personality who's not going to take any bullshit. And, I've said it before, I really rate Victor Loughlin as the best referee in the UK, but I thought he did wrong there last night. He warned Okolie a few times before he started taking points, warned him a couple of times afterwards before he took another couple of points, or another point, or whatever it is, and then he took a third point. I'm saying to myself, right, okay, he could have been out there long before now. And, I was just, whatever hair I've got left, I was fucking scratching it, never mind tearing it out, for fuck's sake. That was just awful. I didn't want to see Okolie ever again.
No, well said. I do believe that, Edwin Rodriguez, he was 24-0 at the time. I believe he actually came on this podcast back in the day before my time, maybe when Matty was still hosting. Yeah, in the chat, Jared was asking what about Okolie fighting an octopus? Could you imagine? All those gangly arms grabbing round and stifling the life out of the octopus. I don't know how the octopus would cope, to be honest. Right, Mark Lovell has been in touch on a lighter note. As known admirers of obscure and ridiculous titles, which we are indeed, Mark, I thought the panel would appreciate the strap that former Parker and Ortiz opponent, Daniel Martz, picked up against Richard Carmack. Now, Mark wasn't the only person to bring this to my attention. Somebody else did. Can't remember who it was. But have a bit of this, Andy. The American Boxing Federation Colonial Atlantic Heavyweight title. The American Boxing Federation Colonial Atlantic Heavyweight title was on the line between Daniel Martz and Richard Carmack. You having that?
Was that the colonial title? Was this the one that was left over from, like, say, what they call Lord Cromwell's days during the Independence War and all that sort of stuff? Is it?
I think
Oh
so.
my fucking god! Did they just find it somebody's fucking front garden during the fucking reenactment of the Asian Corps or something like that? Pick it up.
Yeah.
Jesus fuck! Oh, God,
Yeah, down in New England boxing for that one, I think. So the Colonial Atlantic title, anyway. Loving that one. Right, Lucas Brown is back on Friday night on the 28th of September. He's fighting Julius Long. He looks in good shape, actually, to be fair. Does big Lucas Brown. Long isn't great, is he? He's tall, and that's about it. Other points of note, Ashley Theophane, Mr. TMT himself, he's not in the money gym anymore, but he's getting a 10-rounder against Frank Dodsey over in the Napoleon Boxing Gym in Accra, Ghana, next Friday evening. So good luck to Ashley Theophane. Devin Haney, up-and-coming young boxer, 19-0, is in a 10-rounder against the experienced Juan Carlos Burgos on Friday night. Why is that of interest, you might say? Well, Devin Haney is actually promoting the fight himself. IBF North American lightweight titles on the line. 19-0, Devin Haney is promoting that one himself. Right, there was something else I was going to bring up while I furiously scurry to try and find the next question. Aussie.
Next week as well.
Yeah, there's a few points of interest. No, I had John Ryder's record of what we've done, John, haven't we? He's already been on him.
Actually, Theophane's fighting in Ghana next week, boys.
Aye, yeah, just saying that.
Well, did you? Oh, I was tuned out for a second there.
Aye, Ashley, man, that's what I said. He's out the Mayweather gym, but he's fighting now in the streets of Accra, Ghana.
Remember the time when he said that it was actually, who was it? It was, there was some of the welterweight, but Ricky Burns and all that, and Anthony Crawler. And remember he said he was like above that level and all that sort of stuff. Now he's getting like shipped out to fucking some far-flung Western African country, man. Fucking hell.
Ferhat Arslan was back in the ring last night as well.
Was he? How did he go on?
A second round knockout against Pascal and Domba, 23-8-2 from Tanzania.
Here, I'll say, what about if they put him in with Lalenga Mock? He could have a combined age of about 100.
Too right. It would genuinely. Oh no, he's a bit bigger, isn't he, Arslan? I can't believe he's still going.
Must be 50. Must be 50.
47. Well, according to BoxRec, which you never know, could be wrong. He's 47 now, Arslan.
Fucking Jesus.
And he's the Global Boxing Union World Cruiserweight Champion.
That sounds like a Prince Patel title. Any word from the Prince, Ozzy?
No, he's...
That's not quiet there, eh? He used to be fighting every other week, and that. What's happened? Has he been thrown in jail in Hungary or something like that?
He was last out... he boxed this month, actually. A couple of weeks ago. I must have missed that. Against 16-1 John Chua in Morrison's pub in Budapest.
Morrison's car park.
It literally says Morrison's pub, Budapest.
Fucking brilliant. Morrison's, hey, they're now. Christ, I'll be like your typical Witherspoons and stuff like that, eh? Walking in, hey, give me a pint of Guinness, put a fucking head in that cunt, or put a fucking head on you.
It was a massive card as well. There must be about 22 fights on it.
It's one of them gym fights, was it, Ozzy, or something?
I tell you what, guys, you really need to go into YouTube and just type in Latvian gym fights and stuff like that. Holy fuck, man! It's just like, you know, you often wonder, you see like a Latvian fighter's like record and that, and you look at these you look at these fights, you say to yourself, that is a professional fight.
Like your man last week with the frigging wooden boards in the ring, Andy, McCranwell.
Yeah.
The guy who Sam Eggington, boxing on wooden floor. It's honestly, it's so straight. You see what it is over here, and then you just go abroad, and like I said, you go into like the Budapest Fight Club's another one, where it's always popular, and it's just a little gym or a school hall, and they stick a ring up and just go, right, let's go. It's unbelievable.
Ozzy just taking things up in levels next Saturday night. Last I heard, Jorge Linares was supposed to be moving up to welterweight, but he's in a BoxRec have it down as a lightweight contest, but he's in against Abner Cotto, who's obviously campaigned around super lightweight. I mean, looking past this fight, you'd imagine Linares would win, but what's left for him, Ozzy?
I thought he would go up to super lightweight. I didn't think he'd go up to 147 from lightweight. I would say that's quite a big jump for.
That's not going to be a permanent move, surely. That's just going to be.
No, it sounded weird to me, but that's what I heard. Yeah.
Oh right,
He's not going to go up to no way. 147.
Yeah, it makes sense going to 140, but 147, I just think he'd get annihilated. For sheer size more than anything. But no, I think there's a lot to like about Linares. And I still think he's definitely got something to give. What we've got to remember is he was in a fight with Lomachenko that was very close. It was very close. It wasn't a case of he was getting outclassed and outdone.
No, dropped him as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, it was one of those knockdowns that it was more a flash knockdown. It was hit front on, but Lomachenko wasn't buzzed or anything like that. But it was a great fight. So in terms of Linares, I think there's a lot to like about him. Definitely want to see him up at 140. He can definitely campaign at the top level there, 100%. I mean, who is the so one of the champions, Maurice Hooker. He'll definitely fancy that fight. 100% fancy that fight. I'm trying to think of the champions at 140 at the moment.
Kirill Relic. They're all boxing super series, aren't they? Yeah.
Exactly. So it's not a bad time to jump up for Linares because he can essentially have a couple of fights while all these guys are tied up, grow into the weight a bit, and then look to take on one of the winners. And to be honest, I don't think it's a massively stacked division up at the top, and there's no reason why he can't go and win a world title and probably unify at super lightweight as well. Because I would take him against Relic, Hooker already, without a doubt.
Yeah, I see a Ring TV article here. Actually, it's 140. He's moving up to. Sorry, not 147. I don't know why I was talking shit there. Rapping Rob Kelly's with us. Before we go on to him, let's talk about the big heavyweight fight from the weekend. And this coming weekend, that is, the IBF Intercontinental title is on the line as Robert Helenius, 27-2, goes in against Erkan Tepe, 19-2. At the end of it, if it's not a draw, Andy, someone's going to have 3 losses on the slate. Who's it going to be in this epic showdown?
I think it'll be Helenius. No, just by chance, actually, I had the finish card. The Aristoteles fight, his last European defence. Helenius was on the rematch on that card. Actually, he looked fucking shite. Tepper, I suppose. I've not seen him since he fought Price. Actually, I might have
Andy, doesn't Helenius have like bullshit fights every now and again? A friend of mine, Big Nicky, went out to Estonia recently because one of the Irish lads was on the undercard, and he said Helenius rocked up in the main event, quote unquote, and it was like a 6-round exhibition or something.
6-round exhibition.
This was a couple of years ago, but I think that's what they do out there in Eastern Europe. There's all sorts of mad shit going on.
I was going to say because I think he'd been out for a while when he came back and he had a fight in Estonia and then he fought Dillian White and then he had another fight in Estonia and the guy he fought there was the guy he fought in the rematch because he should have lost that first fight for what I was reading. Apparently he broke his right hand in the first round or something like that.
Must have been one of them then, Andy, yeah.
Aye, so he's broke his hand in March. He's had a rematch with the guy there and he had a 6-rounder with him. Again, it was awful shit. I kind of kept a fleeting eye on it. I don't know where Tepper's at, but if he can uncork that left hook like he did on Price, I don't see why he can't do Helenius any damage in that because Helenius is not active enough. He doesn't let his punches go. He goes up to the ropes far too easy. He gets caught far too easy in that. Again, Tepper, he's off the roids and stuff, or is he? We don't know. But I think there was some sort of dispute going on as well about the drug testing about that fight as well, or about that test. But I would think Tepper, especially with the fight being in Germany as well, will probably end up winning this fight. But how he does it, I would probably say it'll be a shit 12-round decision.
Oh no, I think Helenius will win. Tepper's shite.
So is Helenius, mate.
Well, yeah, but as soon as Tepper come off the juice, he lost all his power, got beat off Christian Hammer, got beat off Marius Wack, who is utter garbage. And then since then, he went life and death with some Greek guy, Evgenios Lazaridis, beat him by a point. And then that's it.
Stan Lazaridis.
Yeah. And he's had 2 other wins over Zoltan Sala and David Gorgiladze.
The thing is,
he's making these names up, Andy.
Did these guys actually throw punches at him though? Because I'm telling you, Helenius, for what I've seen Helenius, man, he is fuck. So we could be watching an absolute shit fest by what it could be in a hug fest like asking against Okolie.
Oh well, I'm hoping there's a little highlight package that doesn't last very long. I advise everybody now to go on Tekpa's record and look at his last opponent, David Gorgiladze.
He's fat as fuck today. He's quite.
You want to see the state of the opponent. It's embarrassing. He's had 15 losses, knocked out 14 times. He's 23 and from Georgia. Honestly, just it doesn't even look heavyweight. It's weird.
Ozzy, is that big fat shit who fought Dillian White once on one of the Frampton undercards and he fell over?
No, that's somebody else. So this guy hasn't actually. He's not
This
had
guy
the joy.
fought in the UK, I don't think.
He's not had the joy to venture into the UK shows. Yeah, he's been countries. He's been in Russia, Georgia, Romania,
Czech Republic, and Germany.
Yeah, in Germany. So a bit of a jet setter, but he's not graced the shores of the UK yet. So you never know who will see him over. When's
Mick Hennessy's next show?
Why are you going to get Mick Hennessy to fight him?
No, we'll get Mick Hennessy. He'll bring him across, will he? No, Mick Hennessy loves a Georgian fighter, doesn't he?
He loves a buffet too. Big Mick. Right, let's get off this madness. Let's go on to rapping Rob Kelly. Rob, Paul Edwards is in touch on Twitter. I don't know what you think about this, but I've got my opinion. He said, after listening to last night's podcast and interviews from every corner following last night's fight, all the talk is of Wilder. Does nobody give Fury a chance of ruining the party? I think the reason is, Rob, why we're all projecting about a possible AJ Wilder fight rather than talking about Fury so much is because Wilder and Joshua, the negotiations were there, weren't they? The contract was there. It was a fight that we thought possibly might get signed. So we're sort of keeping that idea in our heads, forgetting maybe a little bit about the Wilder-Fury fight and like putting Wilder and Joshua together and thinking how that fight will come off. Would that be a true assessment, Rob?
Yeah, well, I think two things. Obviously, you're right. They were in negotiations. That's the fight that everyone was pushing for. We wanted to see Wilder versus Joshua to see who really is the man in the heavyweight division rather than biting out of. So all of us as boxing fans are pushing for the Wilder fight. Then we have to go on form with Fury. And if we're being honest, even as big a Fury fans as we are, I don't know if he's going to be able to pull it off. I think we talked about this last night. But he's, it is intriguing because he's proved us wrong so many times. I don't know. I think I see at the moment, if I had to make a call on it, I think it's hard to look past Wilder in that fight, but we know more probably when it gets announced and they've got a venue and all that. We'll have a closer look at it, but as it stands at the moment, I'd say Wilder is probably favoured to beat Fury, which is pushing him in that direction to fight AJ. But that fight's not happening next in April. No chance.
And what about last night then, Rob? Obviously, as I said, people can go and listen to your opinions. You're out in the field looking for UFOs, raging against the world, raging against the machine. What's your honest assessment of the sobriety of the Sunday?
As everyone knows, Steve, as everybody, do you know what I mean? No, I looked at it and I can't see anything else apart from Povetkin winning or being ahead on the cards until the knockout. And I know AJ was boxing his way back into it. Very, very good finish. Very good finish. Dropped the right hand over the jab, and it worked. But apart from that 1-2, I didn't see anything really in the armory of AJ. He's just, I don't know, man. I just feel like he's there for the taking. I think he's very, very vulnerable. I think he's showing his gas tank. And I know, I think it was Oz last night said it was a bit unfair to him. But I thought he was blown after 3 rounds. So I just think he's too heavy. And I think the key to beating him is tiring him out and knocking him out because his main vulnerability is that he's gassy. Maybe he was holding the chin last night. Has a bit of a beard, but maybe Povetkin's power is not what it was once he's getting. So against Wilder, I think if Wilder got him in trouble, he'd get him out. I think maybe if he got Wilder in trouble, he'd probably get him out as well. He's a very, very good finisher. But yeah, assessment of AJ is the same assessment that I had of him all the time. I think he's there to be taken.
Okay, Rob, we'll be coming back to you. Night. Yep, no, go ahead, Rob. Sorry, I thought you'd finished. Go on ahead, sir.
No, I was saying...
Rob, I think we're losing you a little bit. The man's trying to silence you out there. trying to throttle you with Wi-Fi. You there, Rob?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just like, I was more mad like at Eddie. The minute he got in the ring, the minute that fight is over, he's automatically like they've got a predetermined script and they're all sticking to it. Like, so Hearn gets in the ring afterwards, and it's all Fury and Wilder are Instagram champions. AJ's got all the belts. He'd fight anyone. He'd fight Dominic Brazil, and AJ saying even Sugar Ray Robinson lost. This fight game is so tough, but they've got Wembley booked out for the next two AJ events, and they don't realistically expect negotiations with Finkel and Wilder and Heyman to be made, and they're lining up the winner of Derek Chisora versus Dillian White for AJ as the next fight. And if you really think that, like, they might use Wilder as a smokescreen again and start hyping the fight again and putting all the blame in their corner, but I really can't see AJ versus Wilder next. I don't know what the guys think. I think they're on a money train for as long as they possibly can. Like,
well, Andy, let me bring you in here because Rob mentioned the cheerleading and stuff. Max Stoke was in touch. He said, is Adam Smith used as a bukkake victim for the Skyboxing Dream Team after a Matchroom event? His commentary has become unbearable. What do you think? Is Adam getting used and abused afterwards by the team? Is he really that bad, Andy, old Adam Smith?
He is that bad, mate. I mean, he made a comment last night that really pissed me off as well. Right elitist comment that, how far the sport has come from leisure centres to big stadium fights and that. That's good and well, Adam. I applaud you for putting a fight on in Wembley Stadium, but at the same time as there's thousands upon thousands of careers every weekend, during the week and at the weekend, fought in these leisure centres that you so abdiquately just fucking try to just like talk down there last night, you elitist chin-headed prick. Right.
Do you know where he's got this from, Andy? I believe he's got this from Eddie himself, because I remember whenever Eddie first came into the game as a major force, he signed up Carl Frampton and he used to do Frampton fights. And I remember him sitting there. It's in my book, Irish Boxing Review. If it's not been burnt already, that's another story. And Eddie said, we don't want to do shit fights in leisure centres anymore. And he was referring to the Frank Maloney, obviously at the time, the war and stuff. So they're very conscious of that, Andy.
Well, let's just hope that Matchroom stay on track, because if they don't, they might be back in leisure centres at some point, because that's what happened to Daddy. Daddy ended up in big stadium fights. Daddy ended up back at leisure centres. So didn't he fucking...
That's a good point, actually. Do you remember? You had the likes of Ezra Sellers boxing Carl Thompson in the Withenshaw Leisure Centre. That would have been, 7 or 8 years after he was putting on the likes of Ben and Eubank, so the might and fall.
Yep, and they put on Ben against Watson at Spurs Old Ground, So it's just these things come in peaks and troughs and stuff like that. All right, so we just never know where a couple of bad defeats, maybe a couple of fighters leaving you, and before you know where you are, you're back on your arse. So didn't fucking start crowing, because the people who you trampled on to get to the top, you might meet them on the way back down, and if you want a hand up, they might just fucking kick you back down there.
Well said, Andy. Stay humble and you'll never stumble. Shout out to Chris Bray in the chat. Thanks for the kind words, Chris. Ozzy, we mentioned Uskatagi earlier. He's fighting a non-title affair against Ezequiel Osvaldo Moderna. I'm sure he's pretty good. This is next week in California. The main event, though, is Jerwin Ancayas, taking a bit of a step down in levels, although his last opponent wasn't great either. Alejandro Santiago Barrios. He has 4 draws. Big fan of fighters who've got a lot of draws on the record. Defending the IBF title, Ozzy, basically the point is, Ancayas, we want to see him going in against the super flyweight rivals, don't we? The likes of Khalid Jafai, Mr. Srisaket and all those kind of boys, Estrada. He's a good fighter though, isn't he? Ancayas should get the job done next Saturday evening.
100%. I like what I see about him. I think, because he had a great story, and then he went to Brisbane. I think, what did he... He won the title, got about $6,000 for it or something like that. Obviously come over and, I say announced himself, it's the wrong way, but to a lot of people, it was the first time they saw him, and he destroyed Jamie Conlon in 6 rounds. And his opponents since they've been okay, nothing special again, but this is his 3rd time he's out this year. He might be able to sneak another one in December as well. So if that's the case, if he gets another, mediocre caliber of opponent in December, and then 2019 is where we want to see him in with all the other title challengers, because there's no reason why at these small weights, particularly, these fights should not be happening. I mean, Gonzalez is on his. No, he's not on his way back, is he? Actually, I think is he. What weight did he have his last fight at?
I don't know, but he didn't look too healthy, did he?
Yeah. What weight did he have his last fight at?
What Gonzalez are we talking about here?
Chocolatito.
It was at 115, super flyweight. He's spoken about, for example, he's not going to be pushing himself for title fights at the minute. He's going to try and stay at the weight, and he's going to try and kind of, do it properly in that. So it looks like he's going to try and stay there and build himself into the weight.
Oh, right, okay. So he's still, don't get me wrong, he's still an excellent fighter to have in that division. But then we've got the others. So we've got Rungvisai, Estrada. Obviously, you mentioned Yafai as well. So these are the people we want to be seeing him in with. Yafai again. I mean, I think he's mandatory. It's his next one, the WBA mandatory, and I think they're obviously going to take that. I think that's going to be on Eddie's card. I think in November out in America. So get that done out of the way, and there's no reason why this fight can't happen next. I want to see it. Well, they're the best fights. They're really good. So fingers crossed it can happen next. There's lots to like about Ancajas, and fingers crossed he gets the big one, because I don't think he'll be the one turning it down. And I think he's potentially, because he's quite a big bloke as well, I think he's the potential to go up an extra couple of weights over the years as well. He's only 26.
Yeah, he's pretty young. Rob, I'm going to be coming to you in a minute on the George Groves Callum Smith fight, which is obviously on Friday. Before we do so, Andy, let me read this out to you. It's a little bit lengthy, but well worth listening to. We've been called out, Andy. We've been called out by the listeners. Ross Phillips got in touch on the Facebook page. Hello, Asylum panel. I would like to pull you up on one thing. He says, after the Alexander Usyk-Murat Gassiev fight, you openly talked about how Usyk called out Tony Bellew and the responding interviews afterwards of Eddie Hearn saying he will do all he can to try and make the fight happen. I remember, says Ross, a few podcasts back, most of you Hearn haters were ripping into Eddie Hearn, saying the fight will never happen and there is no chance Eddie will make that fight. I can hear all the excuses already, you said. At the time, I even think you listed a few possible Hearn excuses that he would use to deflect this fight from happening, obviously letting your embarrassing hatred for Hearn cloud your judgment. Last week, you were reviewing the Usyk-Bellew fight, and none of you that had written off Hearn were being able to make the fight happen seemed, sorry, someone's texting me, bugger off, to acknowledge the fact that Hearn had made a good fight, and you will all no doubt be watching. But have no fear, says Ross, Andy. I've popped down to my local pie shop and bought an apple humble pie. I will send you all a slice to nibble on this Sunday evening. Boxing Asylum, my Bellew of the Week nomination.
Well, I'm still waiting. This is Sunday. I'm still waiting for this slice of humble pie, whatever it is. You fucking flash cunt. I'll just say this. By the way.
Pie,
I'll just say this. Eddie Hearn might have made the fight, but I can tell you right now who demanded the fight get made, and it wasn't Eddie fucking Hearn. It was Tony fucking Bellew. Tony Bellew tells Eddie Hearn what he's wanting to do, right? And put it this way: do you think Eddie Hearn would have really kind of made that fight just off his own back? You know? Do you really think so? Of course not. Fuck's sake.
another thing, Eddie just signed Usyk. He just signed him. So that's why the fight's fucking happening. He just signed Usyk, like, because he has to sign people for DAZN in the States, and he's struggling to get fighters. He's after been turned down by about 6 or 7 fighters in the last 3 months. He hasn't got anybody on the network, like, so he needs fights for the network. That's why that fight's happening, and Bellew wants it. Not because you think Eddie wants fucking Tony Bellew to fight Alexander Usyk. Do you think he thinks Bellew has a chance in this fight? No, but Bellew's his
Johnny Nelson
baby, number 2.
Johnny Nelson believes he's
Johnny
going to win the
Nelson. Yeah, shocker.
Rob and Andy have piled some arsenic into the humble pie and sent it return to sender.
Aye, fucking right. I don't like apple pie anyway.
Send us that pie.
I don't like apple pie. I like hairy pie.
Apple pie, pussy. What was that film now? If you got pussy cheaper anywhere else? Fuck it. Oh, God. I can't remember what film it was. Tell me in the chat if you remember. Right, Rob.
I'll pack it with cream. Don't you worry about that.
Go on. Where's Hater Dave tonight anyway? I think he was going off on one last night. Rob, listen to the pod. Dave was on rare form. Let's give him a little slap on the wrist afterwards last night, Dave. Rob, tell me about the big fight in the King Abdullah Sports City in Jeddah. You haven't got a ticket, Rob. Nobody has by the sound of it. George Groves against Callum Smith, WBA Super title, WBC Diamond title. They've managed to stitch a couple of bullshit belts onto what is an excellent fight, Rob. I'm going for George Groves. Who you got?
Rob's at the motorway, I think, jumped off the bridge after last night.
He ventured out of the field. No, I'd favour Groves in that one. I think Callum Smith is a very good fighter, but I'd favour Groves to go ahead and win the Super Series. I backed him from the start, so I think he's going to have enough experience, enough technique, and I think just enough kind of experience on the big stage. Like, I think he's been on the big stage. I don't know if you remember, but he definitely fought a guy called Carl Froch in front of 80,000 people at Wembley. It's hardly ever mentioned. But no, I think he just has he might just have too much for Callum Smith, and I fancy Groves to outpoint him.
Yeah, Ozzy, what are you thinking on this one? Smith's decent, don't get me wrong. He can box, he has a bit of a dig, but the fact that he was held off for, 3.5 years or whatever, waiting for a chance, it just stalled all momentum completely. Because I remember Smith, when he first turned pro on the scene, he was touted as this massive puncher. I remember him coming over, can't remember the undercard, but it was in the Odyssey, and he destroyed Tommy Tolan, and he looked like a beast, and everyone was saying what a big puncher he was. I tell you what, things have half deteriorated in my view of him since then. He looks a little bit static, a bit upright. He hasn't got the versatility and the mobility that George Groves has, even with this damaged shoulder. Whether that'll play a part, we don't know. But I think Groves just has that little bit extra experience and more in his arsenal to deal with Smith, Ozzy.
Yeah, I completely agree. Well behind George Groves in winning this fight, and quite comfortably as well, because I think, like you said, they've tried to wait for the right opportunity for Callum Smith. I mean, how long was it the W weight in, or then the WBC mandatory for? It's things like that. I mean, it seems an age when he boxed Hadila Mohammadi in that final eliminator, and then since then, I mean, I've just pulled up his record now, and it's opponents that are so Cesar Reynoso, Norbert Nemesapati, Luke Blackledge, and then he obviously entered the tournament and boxed Eric Skoglund and Nicky Holsken. And I've got to admit, I think in both fights against Skoglund and Holsken, I didn't think he set the world alight. Now, that may be a case of maybe he can't get himself up for that calibre of opponent because he's been in with them all of his career. But at the same time, it was a huge opportunity, so he shouldn't really be saying that, obviously, part of the tournament. George Groves, there's a lot to like about him. I'm a big fan of George Groves. I think he's got an excellent jab, and I think that's going to be the key, because Skoglund tagged Callum Smith regularly with his jab and then followed up with shots after that. I think George Groves has got one of the best jabs in the business. Really hope the shoulder injury is fully healed and we don't see, another dislocation again or something like that, because we don't want to be seeing, fights marred by cruel injuries. But I think, I think Groves will. I think we may see Callum Smith hit the deck, but we'll get up and probably lose. I think relatively wide on points, to be honest. I think George Groves is probably one of the best super middles out there, and I think Callum Smith is just stagnated that long now. I think his opportunity against Groves has probably come a bit too late, as in he's not had the competition, like a world level opponent or fringe world level opponent. He's been, like I said, in with the same caliber of opponents for too long now, and I think that'll ultimately be his downfall.
Ozzy, quick word on the venue as well. Obviously, they're getting a pile of money and they've got their reasons, but it's a bit of a shit fest. I think it's piss poor, to be honest. Fans should have been able to watch this, and even guys who want to go out there and spend the big money aren't able to get hold of tickets. It's real. It's just poor form, I think, the location.
Bollocks, but that's what the tournament's clearly been propped up on. The Saudis have obviously put massive money in, and then, for all the quarters and semi-finals, all the wages. And then the final has clearly been agreed to go out there. But this is a big fight. This is George Groves, Callum Smith in a prestigious tournament. And in reality, no one's talking about it. Now, we understand it's probably been caught up in all the heavyweight talk, etc., things like that. But I think you could go on the street now and not a lot of people will know. I bet you a lot of people don't even know it's on Friday night. That's one thing.
Yeah, I found out last week. I just happened to see it. I was like, where is it on the schedule? And then I was like, oh, it's Friday.
It's on Friday, yeah. I mean, I was surprised that it's on a Friday. I just don't like it. And like I say, apparently people have struggled to get tickets out there. It just doesn't add up to me. This is the fight where you'd want to see wherever the MEN or the O2 or something, and pack it out with supporters who want to be there, not just rich Arabs just chucking wads of cash around and basically haven't got a fucking clue who George Groves and Callum Smith are.
Yeah, Andy, I wonder what the atmosphere is going to be like. It might be akin to the old Buster Douglas Tyson fight in Tokyo. You could have some mad shit going down and they're all sitting there in virtual silence.
Well, I'll tell you what, actually, I mean, I know the rules, for example, in Saudi Arabia means you can't bare your legs and you must cover your shoulders. So we're going to expect fucking George Groves and Callum Smith to be fighting T-shirts or something like that.
Wearing ponchos.
It's shit. I mean, I was having a look at the entry visas and stuff like that a couple of days ago, and that it's weird, even for Muslims and stuff like that, to fly to certain parts, and you got to have a certain visa, and you can't fly to certain airports, and if you're a non-Muslim, you've got to explain your destination where you're traveling to, and if you can't give a proper explanation, you can't board the flight. Oh, it's just fucking shambles. I mean, you would think it will be like the made to do well people in Saudi Arabia will be attending this, like the king and his family and his arse lickers and all that sort of stuff.
Like when you have those Monte Carlo shows, and a few rowdies at the back, maybe.
I don't even think I don't even think they'll be allowed rowdies, mate. I mean, if you find fucking, you can imagine some fucking scouser walk in there by the way, with a fucking bottle of vodka and that. Yes, was fucking out, fucking beheaded. It could be you might get a live execution on fucking live TV, man.
Andy, what about the time zones? I was thinking about doing a post-fight pod, and then I thought, whoa, hang on a minute, I don't want to commit to this. It's not going to be like 3 o'clock in the morning, is it? I don't think so.
Well, I only noticed last night that this fight is actually on Friday, and what time is it now? This is what, 9:30. So it's about,
good point. Yeah,
it's about 11:30, 12:30.
Yeah, they're 2 hours ahead.
Right, so it's not that bad then.
That's fine then. Right, sorry, I didn't realise that.
So you would think it'll be 10 o'clock UK time. Usually these WBS cards or 10 p.m. UK time. It was that for Riga as well. So by midnight earlier, I would think. As for the fight itself, I'm thinking. I agree with everything what John Ryder said. Actually, it's all about it's the what ifs. Will Groves' shoulder hold up? That is the main thing. I mean, the last thing we need is that shoulder to go early in the fight, and we're going to see Dog Shagger walking about the ring with his hand in the air, fucking fist pumping, all that sort of stuff. But number one, but at the same time, I look at Callum Smith against Scotland and against Nietzsche Holskin. Okay, the Holskin fight, he had a couple of days to maybe prepare for it. Maybe that's the reason why. But I have not been impressed with Smith whatsoever through this tournament. He's looked laboured. He hasn't looked good whatsoever. I just think if Groves is somewhat 90 to 100% fit, with his pedigree, his experience, his power, I just don't see past Groves in this fight. As again, it's a what if his shoulder can hold together. I just don't see how Callum Smith beats him. He's far too straight, unless he hits him with an arsehole winder or a shot that he doesn't see coming. If he catches him cold, I really don't know. But I just think Groves is just far too skilled for him. And if it comes down to a shootout, I do favour Groves. He's going to attack the body. He's got a lot to aim at. Left hooks, right hands. He doesn't need to aim for the head. Just work the body.
Just jab, I think.
Just do what Joshua did there last night. Jab at the body, and then when the time comes, let the right hand go down the middle. And I don't surprised to see Smith fold, because you just, as John also said there, how he makes super middleweight is unbelievable. He must be leaving something in the gym to try and make that weight, or something on the scales to make the weight. And Groves is big for the weight as well. Make no mistake about it. But again, it's a lot of what ifs and stuff like that. I could say right now that Groves is going to knock him out, and I could made an idiot, and Smith knocks him out in 2 rounds or something like that because of the shoulder. I really don't know, but I think Groves. Groves is an intelligent guy. I think he's been in there after what happened with the German guy. What's his name again? Fuck's his name?
Eddie Gutnick.
Eddie Gutnick. That's it. I think Groves, deep down knows how if you're no fit, if you're not close to 100%, he's not going to take that chance. Groves strikes me as an intelligent bloke. He's not going to take risks if he doesn't have to take the risk. If he's not 100% fit, he wouldn't take the fight. he's been pushing and arguing and basically going back and forward on Twitter, not trying to get a date for the fight. So that to me suggests that he's ready to go. He is close to fully fit. So I don't want to hear any excuses. I think Groves is going to do it and do it pretty well. I'll say he does it on points, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a stoppage either.
9 p.m. ring walk time, Andy. Third pay-per-view for us to shell out for in 3 weeks. It's not cheap being a fan of this sport, is it?
Yeah, we've got how many more to go? 3, 4 still to go before the end of the year. Yeah, I think your usual streaming fights sites will be in order, mate. We'll take it for like so, what?
Listening to on the radio.
Quarter of the price, aye.
Well said. Right, yeah, quick word from you, Rob. The undercard is shit. There's no two ways about it. Chris Eubank Jr. is going in against our old mate, JJ McDonagh. Is that going to encourage you to part with your Euros?
Yeah, well, I'm a big fan of the Quinn McDonagh families. As you know, I follow the Irish Traveller bare knuckle boxing scene pretty well. And JJ is from the Quinn McDonagh family. I think he's a cousin of Cowboys Michael, who's I think he's an undefeated bare knuckle fighter. But aside from that, not much interest in this fight. Like Eubank is a spoof, is a kind of charade that's after being exposed every time he's fought someone good, which is not that often on his record. His record is the most padded and disgraceful looking yoke. He's athletic, he can punch a bit. His fundamentals are terrible. He's not going to get any better to me. Has he trained? He's changed coaches recently, has he?
I don't know, has he? I'm not sure.
I thought there was some rumblings about him changing coaches, but he was back in the gym after that fight against Groves anyway. The next day, ringing off combinations on that. That fucking what's that? It looks like a mannequin doll. That's there. So he's good on that. Like I'd expect him to beat JJ McDonagh, dude. JJ got beaten in that kind of Irish
last
prize
man
fight
standing.
we were all watching. Yeah, last man standing with the guy that won it didn't get his money in the end, did he not? So
no, Roy Sheehan, wasn't it? Yeah?
Roy Sheehan, yeah. So I think JJ will go and have a go, man. I think, but he's not going to. I don't think he's going to cause any problems for Eubank. Like, I would expect Eubank to come through that, but again, when Eubank moves up in opposition, he's going to get beaten again, like, isn't he? So no interest in him, like, but unless he's fighting someone good who's going to give him a good tanking, like. Anything else on that undercard?
No, not really. I don't think so, Rob, to be honest with you. There's one fighter on, but I think he's signed to a certain institution, and with you being from Wexford, you're not allowed to talk about it, so I'm going to have to censor you, I'm afraid.
I didn't know any other names on that list, by the way. I didn't know anybody.
They're all great people.
Go on, Ozzy, anything to say?
Some of the contests are laughable. What amuses me is that we've got Darren Surtees, who I think he's up Newcastle way or something, against Kane Baker.
They brought Kane Baker over now.
Who's from Birmingham. So we've got a lad from Newcastle against a lad from Birmingham boxing in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia to prop up an undercard on ITV pay-per-view. So that's an opportunity. And then I don't know if Andy's familiar with this guy, Kem Lundqvist.
The Swedish boy, no, I don't know him, mate.
Denmark, big heavyweight.
Nah, apart from Otto Wallin and the big, it's the one he just fought there recently.
Adrian Granat.
That's the one. That's the only two that I'm aware it's in Sweden at the minute. So
what about Jeremy Levin? Do you remember him, Andy?
Jeremy Levin?
Well, no, Attila Levin, sorry. I was mixing him up with Jeremy Williams. Attila Levin, do you remember him?
No.
Sorry, Ozzy, carry on.
No, it's fine. And then there's that Mikael Lawal, who I've seen a couple of times over here. He's on there. But what do you expect, really? Did we honestly expect a decent undercard for this?
Most of the undercards for them have been pretty poor anyway for most of these shows.
Yeah. Well, like we've spoken about this before. The wages particularly for the super middle one, astronomical. Some of the cash that these guys have got. I could be wrong because it was a while ago when someone told me, but I'm sure the winner of Grove Smith is set for about 12 or 13 million quid.
Fucking hell.
It is huge, absolutely massive money. Oh, Jamie Cox got about best part of about 700k for boxing George Groves. Huge money, absolutely huge. Callum Smith's a multi-millionaire for boxing garbage, being brutally honest. In terms of he's not had, like the huge breakout fights, where some of them get. He's entered this tournament. It's the best thing that he could have done. Like I said, I might be slightly off on the numbers, but a couple of people who I respect in the sport who they were ones who told me the figures, and I was gobsmacked. I don't think you'll see that sort of money flying around in the next load of thingies. I just don't get how you can sustain that, to be honest. It's not so. I mean, I don't know how well this will do on pay-per-view either. I think this is coming in at another 17 quid next week. So,
wow, is it as much as that?
I think so. Yeah, it might be 15.95 or something. I don't know. You can usually get decent streams for ITV pay-per-views anyway. So I'll be legally streaming for the listeners out there.
Legal Stream, says Ozzy. Right, before we go on to Value of the Week's final point of interest, I'm going to talk about something that we've talked about in the past and that have become quite interesting as the Frank Warren-Eddie Hearn rivalry heats up. I think it's fair to say that it has been bubbling up a little bit lately. Is it because Frank is becoming more of a threat? Possibly. I know that they're going tit for tat at the moment, Frank and Eddie. Carl Frampton's fight with Nonito Donaire, wasn't it? It found Amir Khan against Phil the Greco up against it on the same night. Now we're being told that Frampton Warrington is December the 22nd, and it's expected to be rivaled by Chisora versus White 2. Eddie, with a straight face, he was only recently talking about the saturation of pay-per-views, as we were discussing there, becoming a problem for fans as BT Box Office has entered the market. But anyway, you've got Hearn hitting the States with DAZN. You've got Frank getting into bed with ESPN and Bob Arum now, the WBO. No doubt playing the role of a bedraggled mistress in that alliance. And then you've got Frank announcing Wilder versus Fury, which was a stab back at Eddie as well. It took the steam out of the Joshua Povetkin fight a little bit and drew the spotlight onto Joshua and his team's inability to nail the fight down with Wilder, I suppose. But, I mean, people have started saying now that Wilder against Fury, Andy, is a publicity stunt. Will it even be happening this year at all? We got little meta announcements this week, didn't we? Rumours leaking out during the Joshua versus Povetkin fight week about possible dates and venues. It was a sneaky press grab from Frank against AJ and Eddie. And, I mean, what's your opinion on this thing? You know, they're going tit for tat, aren't they? Putting shows on the same nights against each other, fight week announcements of each other's shows, trying to take the wind out of each other's sails, signing deals across the pond against each other now. It really is starting to ramp up, is the point I'm making between these guys, Andy.
Yeah, it's been something that's been going on for a few years and stuff. I just think the two guys need to get together now and just penetrate each other and just get it over and done with and that, you know. It's obviously clear. I mean, you can see, you know, one's maybe trying to rebuild and that. He's and you've got Eddie kind of coming in and trying to scupper things. That, I mean, at the end of the day, is, you know, it's us that's losing out. It's nobody else. Okay, you're splitting, you know, loyalties across the way. Just like a couple of weeks ago, when we had Showtime, for example, and HBO going head to head, and that, you know, you asked me what would I be watching. I was going to be watching HBO instead of Showtime, and that I didn't want to see. I forget who it was. I think it was Porter and Garcia or something like that. It's just shit. It's just, you know, just don't do it. I mean, fucking hell, you got, as you say, there's talk about White Chisora potentially happening on the 22nd. That's going up against Frampton and Warrington,
which is a direct conflict, because who the hell puts one show on 3 days before Christmas, let alone another one?
Aye, and one's going to be pay-per-view. You know that for a fact. Yeah. I mean, you can't expect to put Dillian White and Derek Chisora, who after you've just paid the two guys over the last couple of fights and stuff like that, stick them on regular Sky. Because what are you going to put on the undercard? Nothing. So it needs to be pay-per-view. Frampton Warrington, I assume, is going to be pay-per-view. So you're like, you know, what the fuck? You know, and there you've got Eddie Hearn coming out and saying, "Oh, there's too many pay-per-views going on at the minute, and it's the market's getting
saturated." Yeah, Frampton's definitely pay-per-view, Andy, because that's what Eddie was responding off the back of that.
Yeah, and you know, it's just, again, as I say, well, forget what I was going to say about Hearn and that. Obviously about the pay-per-views, there's too many of them and all that type of stuff. But he is directly responsible for all these pay-per-views. Everything that was, you know, anything that was semi-competitive was going on regular Sky. Anything that was kind of like upcoming fights or upcoming fighters, you know, they were getting stuck on the regular Sky shows. But anything half decent world title fights are getting stuck on Sky. And Eddie Hearn is directly to blame. So then they start complaining that other people putting pay-per-view shows on now. You are the one to blame.
Go ahead, Ozzy.
Just following on from that, I think the only people that simply lose out in this situation are the fans. Now, it's not a sport from where, you know, in football you'll see Chelsea against Arsenal and then Man United against Man City. Yes, they're on in the same day, but they're on in different times. and you've obviously got your own set fan groups as well. With boxing, it's a niche environment and a sport from where it's a case of you've got a set of fans and that's it. And to put two big fights on the same day, 3 days before Christmas, is just idiotic and stupid. And like I say, it's a case of I just don't get why you do it. The only people that lose out are the fans, because what are people going to do? It's going to be 15 quid for the BT one, I expect. What will White Chisora be? 16.95 or something like that. People honestly going to pay best part of 35 quid to watch 12 fights on 3 days before Christmas.
Do you know the Aussie? You know what? It might improve the undercards. I'm trying to be the optimist here, but they might think, you know what, we're gonna have to sort of put a decent undercard on here.
See that bell you use? I don't expect that to be a great undercard, because he must be paying a fucking fortune today too. By the way,
I know the rival ones, Andy. I meant on the 22nd of December, probably.
The Frank one. I know two of the fights that I can pretty much confirm for that already. So, Mark Heffron against Jason Wellborn for the middleweight British title, and Sam Bowen against Ronnie Clark for the super feather British title.
Good trade
fights that should land on that card. So I think they're two excellent fights, ones that will be further down on the card. I suspect we'll see obviously a couple of Irish lads. Won't be shocked to see Nicola Adams out there again. And then there's one fight I can't say at the moment, but if it gets
go on.
I know. If it gets made, I think it's a more than worthy chief support, and I think a lot of people will be impressed with it. Obviously, things change, things happen, but we'll wait and see. But the only people that lose out are the fans. It's silly games. I mean, the best thing that could happen is essentially Calm Brook gets made, so the two shows don't clash. Because if Calm Brook gets made, they're not going to run with another pay-per-view 2 weeks after, which is Chisora and White. Now, like Billy Nelson said, I'm genuinely shocked that they're building this up as a 50-50 between Dillian White and Derek Chisora, yet they're all saying that Dillian White is going to box Anthony Joshua in April. So how is that a 50-50 when you're essentially writing off the opponent by penciling in another fight in April? In my opinion, that says the complete opposite. But they'll beef it up. A few tables will be chucked around, no doubt. Maybe a couple of steel chairs this time, which we liked last time at one of the press conferences. Could even get a ladder out. Who knows? But it'll be lapped up.
And if Chisora wins, which is feasible based on the last fight, you have to say, although maybe Chisora's regressed a little bit since then and White has come on. But imagine Chisora wins, man. They're going to have to separate him and AJ at the press conference. They'll have the glass wall. Chisora will be spitting water into the wall through his fucking Union Jack mask. It's going to be unreal. Chisora versus AJ, baby. April 30th. Book it.
I'll tell you what, Chisora is a live opponent in this. I think it's one of those fights where Chisora can get up for it. I think you saw, when he went out to Monte Carlo and boxed that Caballero. He just looked completely gone. But there's a bit of history between him from where he honestly believed. And I thought Chisora beat White first time round. And I think he's genuinely live in it. Genuinely live. And like I said, he's coming off probably a career best performance against Carlos Takam. Has he all of a sudden got a dig about him? Because, like I said, no one else has done that to Takam before. Absolutely leveled him. He was gone.
And the crowd was singing Chisora's name, which worried me.
And we've seen Dillian White can be hurt as well. He can be hurt. Joshua hurt him regularly. I swear Hellenius made him wobble a bit in the first round. Parker, another 30 seconds, and White loses. So it's a fight where I'm definitely interested in watching. It's just I don't want them to clash on pay-per-view because the only people that miss out are the fans.
December the 22nd, Aussie. Pay-per-view. You could have Nicola Adams on one pay-per-view, Katie Taylor on the other. What a time to be alive.
Well, what can I say? It'll be a toss-up who I spend my money on and watch. I'll be going to Frampton Warrington, without a doubt. That's a great fight. That's one I want to see.
Yeah, I'm going as well. I'll be booked up. What you say, Rob?
Let me tell you. I said Obanov better be on one of those pay-per-views.
You'll be at the weigh-in, won't you? Being restrained by the big security guy.
Oh yeah, I'm going on a press pass with Big Ben if she gets made on pay-per-view.
We'll see that again, Rob. Rob, I tell you, we will see that again. Jonas Obanov too. Repeat.
Oh yeah,
same outcome.
Ringside.
Right, let's get on with it, boys. Shout out in the chat to AA Boxing and Blunts. He has a YouTube channel. Go and check it out. He has some really well-made, well-researched videos. Great laugh as well. AA Boxing and Blunts over on YouTube. And he's back with us. Ozzy's with us as well. Rob Kelly's with us. We'll be closing out now, guys, with the Belly of the Weeks. I've got sent in a hell of a lot of them, so please do bear with me. Hunting Casuals, yes, indeed, he's back. Major L for the Guru. This can't be swept under the carpet, says Hunting Casuals. I'll take the L. The result remains the same. And the new, says Guru. They're talking about the Canelo Golovkin fight. Not much of Hunting Casuals this week, Andy. He's laid off.
He's also protected his account for some reason. I mean, listen, I'm actually offended the attempted piss take at me, actually. How fucking dare you put up a can of Callum, by the way? I fucking hate that stuff.
Yeah, as if I drink Monster Energy drink, asshole.
I know. Next time you're going to do shit like that, you put up a bottle of John Walker, black or blue label. Nothing better or nothing else than that, dickhead. Not a can of Carlin.
He put up a picture of a goat for me, Andy. I don't know what that quite means.
Greatest of all time, Steve. Greatest of all time.
I haven't shagged a goat in years. I don't know what he's implying. I have 3 goats outside. I don't know how he knew that, but it's a bit weird. Right, anyway, talking to James DeGale. We weren't, but let's talk about him now. Unboxing an 8-rounder on September the 30th in LA, says James, on the Ortiz-Molina bill. When I get through that, I've got something nice and juicy for you in December. Expect that to be the Chris Eubank Jr. fight, another pay-per-view for you. David Newman jumps in, vacating a world title fight to fight in an 8-rounder on the undercard of 2 average heavyweights. In all fairness, James, shows the direction your career has gone. It's a shame because after the Jack fight, I tipped you to rule the super middleweight division. What a waste of talent. Jamie Muir has nominated David. You could probably pick about 3 Belly of the Weeks, depending on what you like in that one. This is a cracker. A few people jumped in on this guy, including Jamie Gallagher. Josh Prickle puts the prick in Prickle, this guy, talking about Eddie Hearn. Eddie, you're a fucking stud in this game. Don't let any of the haters tell you different. The only promoter that comes off as a fan first, a businessman second. The rest come off as money men, basically a bunch of used car salesmen. This is a boxing advisor, Andy, Josh Prickle, out in America. See you in Boston, he says as well to Eddie. So I'm going to Boston, so I hope I don't end up in the middle of anything juicy.
What was that about, mate? Who is he?
Josh Prickle, he's a boxing advisor and he loves Eddie, Rob.
Yeah, Eddie. Oh, Eddie's such a legit guy and he's a fan of the sport first. But Eddie's pulled this okey doke on us before. This thing that he's doing at the moment. Oh, Wilder doesn't want to fight. Wilder knows Wilder's team. When gone, Andre Ward doesn't really want to fight. Golovkin doesn't really want to fight. Word, Eddie.
There you go. That's that sorted out for you, Andy. Don't worry about Josh Prickle. We won't have much to do with him, I wouldn't have thought. After tonight, excuse me, everybody. Tommy Cahill has been in touch. He's putting up for Eddie. Appreciate it could be a week of mayhem, just getting the ball rolling. Eddie talking shit in the newspaper as usual. Asgi jumped in on the Billy Joe Saunders thing. Nomination, in fact, for Billy Joe Saunders himself for putting up this bullshit this week. I think he was getting crackheads to abuse people and call them pedos. It wasn't really that funny, to be honest with you. Asgi jumped in. I'm going to have to say this. Billy Joe Saunders is a true gent, brother, and when you meet him, he's a great guy. These videos are fun for him, where all parties are playing the part. Billy Joe Saunders is a very respectful guy, especially towards me, and I speak in his defence, says Asgi, a big Fury fan as well. Josh Langley has nominated the Telegraph Sport. No, Eddie, actually, being reported in the Telegraph. Anthony Joshua is not just fighting Alexander Povetkin, but also Vladimir Putin. I don't know about you, Andy, but I'd fancy Putin to give anybody, including AJ, a run for his money. Doesn't he wrestle like bears and shit?
Aye, but there's been rumours about he's actually got a serious back problem in that, so, he's no longer in his peak, but, fuck it, he can press a button and kill anybody he wants, man. Joshua's got no chance against him.
So you've got Vlad coming in on the inside, Rob, trying to put in a bit of head movement, and there's AJ trying to jab to the body, getting past the Novichok.
Well, if he was fighting him last night, Bad Vlad was ahead for the first 6 rounds.
We love Vlad on this pod. War Vlad. Tommy O'Reilly has nominated Ricky Hatton. This is a cracker. Joshua versus Povetkin. David Price can win a world title, says Ricky Hatton. Yeah, maybe a WBU or something like that. Boxing Boy has nominated Loz Kennedy and Kid Fresh. Not sure on the context of that one. I'll take your word for it. Greg Cross, Mr. Boxing Casual, has nominated... who's he nominated? Sean Nam for talking about reaching out to Shelley Finkel. I've only got half the screenshots for these guys, so sorry. Andrew G has nominated RW. White Chisora was one of the best heavyweight fights I've ever seen. Probably more of a pay-per-view than most of AJ's pay-per-view, says RW. Got them all here. Boxing Boy has nominated Aiken at Sparrow Tipsy. Check out his tweets. His entire page is something else. I can verify this. I did have a look through them. Mental health is serious, man. I don't want to go in this guy. Floyd Mayweather was being videoed by the Boxing Kingdom. Floyd showing off his fantastic straight right hand, one of the best straight right hands you'll ever see. Kieran Nelson rightly said he didn't throw a straight right hand in the whole of that clip. So the Boxing Kingdom are back to their trolling best. Luke Hobbs has nominated a gentleman for saying, if Conor comfortably beats Khabib, don't at me on this, don't know anything about this, how would he do against Canelo? There you go, Rob. Conor, if he gets past this Khabib character, how would he do against Canelo? Maybe throw something at him?
That's a Dave the Hater question, that one.
I'm going to have to save that one for Dave the Hater. Go on, Rob.
Sir Conor McGregor does need his own nomination this week, because before, when he used to go to the States, he used to be very precise in the way he spoke so the Yanks would understand him. So it'd be all, I am going to pick apart this guy and I'm going to feast on his carcass. But I think Mayweather knocked all that shit out of him and he went back all crumbling this week. And he said to Khabib in the press conference, there's a bang of shite off your dad and you shite on the bus. So, yeah, nomination for McGregor for going pure crumbling in his press conference.
Represent Crumlin, everybody. Phil Sutcliffe, great boxer from Crumlin there. All right, Ricky Gravel has nominated Cornelius Bundridge. Some concise words here from Cornelius for you to think about on a Sunday, everybody listening at home. Atheists should be ashamed of themselves because even the devil knows God is real. Satan is a master deceiver. He got people out there believing they came from apes. That's Cornelius Bundridge. I was going to say stick to the boxing, Cornelius, but if you've ever seen him fight, he's maybe better off talking about apes and atheists, I would imagine. Coogan Cassius was talking about Eddie Hearn. Ben jumped in. How can you not like Eddie? Legend. Ollie's nominated him for that. Simon Alavi has nominated Spencer Fearon. People were tweeting me during the Canelo fight, which confused my brain, said Spencer. So he had to change his score when he watched GGG Canelo 2. Okay, Spencer. Thomas Cohen has been nominated. Really hope Eddie's not going to get silly and overpay Wilder. It's not AJ's job to secure his family's future. Belly of the week from you, Rob, for Spencer Fearon, who told Paulie Malignaggi he was biased against Canelo. Spencer won't stand for any bias, Rob, and rightly so. Rob agrees. Edward Mays has nominated Wembley for not.
Yeah, sorry, but
go ahead. No, what about Spencer? Sorry, no bias, no bias.
No, Spencer's not going to, he doesn't have double standards there at all. Like he said that he just doesn't like Canelo, and that's why he thought Golovkin won the fight. Of course, could never be accused of that.
No bias from Spencer. Wembley wasn't allowing umbrellas inside. Kevin Sharkey has nominated Adam Smith, the Ghoul, commentating on Luke Campbell's fight. Mendez's team know they will have to win big to get the decision here in London, said Mr. Adam Smith. Andy, you've nominated Matt John Robinson. Worst card I've ever known for an AJ fight. Absolutely terrible, this. Wanking symbol. Where's the likes of Conor Benn, Katie Taylor, and our man, David Allen? You know what, Andy? Those three might have actually improved the spectacle.
They might have done it, actually. They might have done.
Oh, dear. Chris Adams. I've not been able to rewind back, but I'm almost positive I just heard Carl Froch, he's another one all in itself, say that Luke Campbell won back-to-back gold medals. We'll take your word for it. Omar was one of many to nominate Johnny Nelson for saying that Bellew could outbox Usyk. Daniel Cook nominated and a host of others. So thank you, everybody, for noting that Johnny Nelson said that Bellew can outbox Usyk. Max Stoke, Bellew of the Week for Lawrence Okolie for his performance. Boxing Brave has nominated DAZN USA. Joe Lewis would be proud of this young man. He's talking about Anthony Joshua, whoever made that comment. Nomination for DAZN. Also, DAZN were interviewing people. They interviewed a fella and his wife. And basically, the fella said his wife, Anthony Joshua, could do whatever he wanted, to the wife. So, what a cook. He actually prompted her to say that too, says the Queensby Chronicles. So shout out to this guy who's offering his wife up to AJ.
I offered the wife up to Stevie Gerrard.
Did you? What happened, Andy? Do tell.
Yeah, she wants it. Hey, she doesn't need to beg for forgiveness. I'll hold his jacket. I'll even make him a steak meal for when he's finished.
Apparently he was trying to get to the bedroom, but he slipped.
I know.
Andy, did he get mixed up with Michael Owen?
Aye.
There's a niche reference. Go back and listen to the old ones, like Chris Bray. Listen to all the old episodes. This is a good one from Chris Blackman. He's nominated Steve Dale Keatley. Sat in the pub waiting for the big man to prove all you doubters wrong. I'm sure he's a hoot in the pub with his big AJ hat on and his AJ t-shirt. I'll put that one up on facebook.com/Boxing Asylum so you can see Steve Dale Keatley in all his glory. Oh God, I've accidentally flicked through a whole pile here. Sorry, while I quickly stall and get through them. Now, Tyrone McKenna put one up, which was nominated by John Kearns. Johnny Nelson, Usyk isn't the finished article, says Johnny Nelson. Aye, mate, says Tyrone. Just Olympic gold medalist and undefeated and undisputed cruiserweight champion of the world. Yeah, Usyk is not the finished article, says Johnny. I tell you what, Andy, Johnny's a front runner, isn't he, so far?
Johnny Bag Nelson really is. He's a work of art. Really, he's relentless, man. Every time there's a big fight, like a pay-per-view event, that he always comes up spewing some verbal diarrhea, man. It's fucking horrible. Even reading it is just absolutely terrible. Fucking hell. Late
nomination for Jason Chukwu, who thinks that Lawrence Okolie wins a world title in 18 months. Simon Alevy has been finding casuals for us, including Stuart Stevens. Dave Temper has nominated Kevin Mitchell in The Observer for giving out the scorecards in Luke Campbell's fight, 119, 109, 118, 111, and a 226, 112. With a superb exhibition of boxing from Luke Campbell. It certainly was if he won 226 points. Let's have a look at the next one then. Paul Edwards has nominated Goalmouth FC, talking about AJ and Frank Bruno. Bando, the casual, talking about his list of great heavyweights. Didn't even know who Henry Cooper was, excuse me. Toby Hines has nominated the most cringeworthy video of the week, sexist and insulting to Emily Eubank, daughter of Chris Eubank. I think it was Frank Smith? I don't want to libel anybody. We'll move on. Bell Udall has nominated Ray Flowers for his list. I wanted to play this, but I just hadn't got time beforehand, Andy. Barry Hearn losing his shit on 5 Live, wasn't he ambushed by Frank Warren, and he said he'd never be back.
Ozzy's the one for that one, mate. Ozzy will be able to tell you that one, unless he's maybe got the clip there.
Go ahead, Ozzy. I wasn't able to get the clip in time, but I will endeavour to get it on for next week. But apparently there was a bit of an altercation between Barry and he stormed off.
Oh, it was absolute gold dust. I tweeted the link out before, so I advise everybody to listen to it. I think it's about 9 minutes and 10 seconds in. It goes on for probably 10 minutes. It's absolutely brilliant. So they were, the 5 Live hosts were talking to Barry about last night, and then they brought in Frank Warren from nowhere. And we got Frank Warren on the line, and you heard Barry say basically, "What's this? What's this?" And then they start going at each other, basically. And Frank managed to get Barry Hearn to say that that the winner of Fury Wilder should box Joshua in April. But he was really against it. And he's like, we don't need to rush this fight. And you'd need to listen to it to get the full story, because it was pure gold. And Frank was in his element, in his absolute element, and he was over the moon. And it ended with Barry Hearn saying that he's never going on 5 Live again. So that was quite amusing. But no, definitely listen to it. It was funny.
So yeah, you know, back on Bunsen Costello's podcast and talking about, I remember listening to him on the podcast. He was a snidey bastard saying to Wilder, "We're giving you an opportunity." Are you really? As I said, Barry, remember, you had your heyday and you fell flat in your arse. And by the way, can I just say something? There's people going to go on about the Hearn situation again and say, "Oh, you're fucking haters," and all that. So I don't give a fuck what you think. But here's the fucking truth of the fact of the matter is this: Barry Hearn is retired to boxing, so to speak. Okay, Barry Hearn had to get called in to speak to Shelley Finkel because Eddie Hearn, being the absolute fucking silver spoon cock muscle that he is, had to get all fucking personal, had to start throwing snidey digs about and stuff like that. And then what happened? Finkel refused to fucking speak to him. So Daddy had to come in and try and sort the matters out. And Daddy still couldn't get it over the line because son fucked it up. It's per fucking usual.
And he had to admit today that they need to fight in April, but wasn't he sitting with his fishing rod there down by the river a few weeks ago saying that Wilder's team didn't want to fight?
Aye. By the way, I've actually put up Eddie Hearn for a nomination as well, just for his explanation as to why he's got to make this fight between White and Chisora on 22nd. Am I second here?
Mm-hmm.
We got to run our own business. Will Warrington Frampton affect the pay-per-view of Chisora against White? No. So I don't have to make a decision based on that pay-per-view. Do you know what I mean? I know I've got to deliver that fight in December, and the only date I can deliver it is December 22nd. You might say, well, why don't you go to another venue? Tell me one.
I mean,
Tell me what.
nothing's been announced yet, but that's the rumoured date for that fight.
But nothing's been announced yet.
Yeah,
so it's not even like.
No, I know, but we just.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter if it is announced, and then it's nothing against Carl Frampton or Josh Warrington or even Frank Warren. That's the only date we can go. And by the way, if we were up against Fury Wilder, we wouldn't go on the 22nd. But it's not going to affect our pay-per-view. So that is, if the fight gets made, that is the likely date for that fight.
So where is?
He's saying it's not a big fight. That's what he was insinuating.
Yep, that's exactly what he's saying.
What venue is he talking about?
I think it'll be the O2.
That's what I thought, but he was making sound the venue as if it was in the locality of Manchester there, and I was thinking, oh, where's he going to put it? Well, shut up.
No, that's stadium anyway.
Where do you think they'll put it?
Well, it can't be the MEN, obviously. What they've got maybe the Velodrome, maybe, but I don't know how much that holds.
What was that one?
White Chisora's at the O2.
Yeah. Right, final one I've got here, boys, before we finish up. Chadders has nominated Gilberto Mendoza for looking like a kid who won a competition in the AJ hat last night. Yeah, that was a bit ridiculous. I couldn't believe that was Gilberto. Why are these sanctioning bodies? I suppose they want to be associated with the brand, don't they? But he's getting his photo taken with AJ, and it's all a bit fanboy and a bit embarrassing. Any other nominations, gentlemen?
No, but Johnny Nelson's getting my vote.
Yeah, I'm going for Johnny as well. He's done a few, Rob, to be honest with you, so I don't know who you're going for, but it's Johnny for me.
I was going to nominate Gonzo for saying that Alexander Povetkin knows what he's doing. High-level commentary from Gonzo.
Yeah.
Absolutely abysmal last night he was. Oh, he knows how to use his weapons. Shut up, like. What you call it? As well, Eddie for the Instagram champions and AJ for the Sugar Ray Robinson thing, like, just appalling. Like, he doesn't know anything about Sugar Ray Robinson. Like, he's clearly been told to say that. Like, it's just absolutely insulting to the sport the way they compare this guy to the greats. But my nomination is for Saunders. I think that was absolutely disgraceful. I think he's got form for it. And I think if it was like Broner, we'd all be up in arms about it. Like, I think Billy Joe gets a pass because he's a bit cheeky on Eiffel. And he's a good fighter, like, but there's no need for that shit, like, and it's not his first time he's been doing it, like, I think.
Yeah, he's pushed it too far this time, like.
Yeah, and it's like this guy don't care about nothing. Like I said, he's on, talking to fellas saying that he slept with their wives and everything and all, and he's just horrible. Like, and the William Monroe thing and all, it's just constant with him. Like, and it's hard to root for a guy like that. Like, so, yeah, I thought that was abysmal. Like.
Right, before we go, obviously, there was a tribute of sorts. We mentioned it on last night's post-fight pod to the great Enzo Calzaghe, who passed away. It should have been later on in the evening, I think, to be honest with you. But anyone want to say a few words individually? I know we have 10 bells, actually, to play. We're going to play that right at the very, very, very end. But before I do the outro and stuff, Andy, any comments from you? Obviously, father and son team. What wasn't mentioned was a lot of the other work I thought Enzo did. The gym was booming at the time. Yeah. Whenever Joe was on top, you had Gary Lockett, you had Bradley Price, you had Nathan Cleverly as well coming through. So he obviously wasn't a one-trick pony. There was, he wasn't from a boxing background. He was from a music background, but he knew what he was doing towards the end, and he got guys in really good physical shape, and he was a big part of his son's success.
Yep, but he's self-taught as well. I thought Paulie was actually quite bang on with his comments. I never really thought about it actually as well. Like Enzo being Southern Italian and like quite emotional guys, and they try to kind of put across this kind of like macho, facade, but underneath they really are emotional guys. And you saw that when Joe finally got inducted into the Hall of Fame, and that, you know, when Ed Robinson asked the question, Enzo, you know, what does this mean to you? And that the guy couldn't get his words out. He was absolutely just over the moon, but just emotional. And he's you know, it's one of these relationships actually. It's unique, you know, very, very close. You know, how many times have we seen father and son relationships break down because the son gets older and he gets cocky, he gets a wee bit independence and stuff like that, thinks he knows it all and that. But, you know, Frank Warren, I believe he might have tried to take Joe away at a different training camp. It didn't, I think he lasted like 3 or 4 days and he went back to his dad. And, you know, it might have been unconventional. You know, if you look at the state of the gym and stuff like that, they used to work in doing a Newbridge, and that was basically an old shack. It was basically falling apart. You know, we spoke about the opponent that knocked out Sam Eggington last week in that, you know, fighting on like floorboards and that's what Joe trained in. You know, a shitty old ring, tattered gloves and stuff like that. He would just basically get out the car, jump in the ring and start sparring and stuff like that. You know, people would be going about, oh, there's no warm up on that. I said, what do you mean there's no warm up? He's been doing stuff all day, and that doesn't need a warm up. Get in the ring and fight. You know, Gavin Rees, for example, took him up to 140, beat Solomon. What was his name again? Solomon. What's his fucking name? The French boy. And then Mende, that's it. And then he got beat off Katelnik and that. And Gavin Rees was he was a decent wee fighter. That he certainly proved it when he came back off that long layoff.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shame what happened with the lawsuit with Calzaghe and Frank Warren, because that obviously in the end forced Nathan Cleverley's hand to basically leave the gym. So it'd be interesting to see if he'd stayed with Enzo, how far he could have went with him. Because I think Cleverley's career didn't really really hit the heights it really should have. I think he kind of like festered in, you know, 4th tier opponents for far too long and stuff, and then he stepped up too late. But, you know, great trainer. You know, this is a guy who essentially talked an injured son through his career-defining fight. And not just career-defining fight, he bossed that fight, dominated him, surgically fucking removed him for all contention in boxing. Jeff Lacey never really was seen or heard of again after that fight. The mini Mike Tyson. Oh, is that fucking right? Enzo said. We'll see about that. And he just coaxed his son into, you know, basically jab and slap with the left hand and stuff like that. But in the end, it worked for them. And, you know, for a guy who wasn't really kind of in boxing to start off with, to have the success that he did, British, Commonwealth, world champions at numerous weights and stuff like that, you know, for a wee country like Wales, speaks volumes. And at some point, as well as, I think, I might be being a wee bit kind of slightly over emotional by saying this, but I think he's going to have to get his just due and posthumously, and maybe go into the Hall of Fame as one of the great trainers of all time, British trainers of all time, I should say.
Yeah, we're well into the 400s of videos now on the Asylum YouTube page, and if you go back into the archives at any point, you will find an interview that was done with Enzo Calzaghe somewhere. I'm not sure what episode it was, but Ozzy, any brief word from you on Enzo's passing?
Nothing more really from what I said last night. It was with great sadness. Obviously, he was a guy who, like Andy said, completely self-taught, and he did truly a tremendous job. Excellent at what he does, brilliant in the corner, and one that I know he was very, very popular in Wales, particularly big in Welsh boxing, and will be sadly missed.
Yeah, we'll maybe get Richie Garner on at some point in the future, friend of the pod. Rob Kelly, finally from you, old Enzo.
Yeah, just a brilliant character for the sport. Like, really, really sad. Everybody knows I'm not the biggest Joe Calzaghe fan, but that's more banter. Like, I know he was a very good fighter. Like, and I think the self-belief that Enzo instilled in him and the belief that Enzo had in him helped him achieve such greatness. And I just remember a really funny piece on, I think it was Sky, they were following this fight. And after 11 side on the pitch, like, and Enzo's there playing centre half, and he's roasting Joe over playing right back. He's fucking getting on his case, like, so he's just, you know what I mean? He just had so much belief in him, and even in the Hopkins fight, he's screaming at him. And he mentioned him being emotional, screaming at him that he needs to knock out to win, like, because he wants to make sure he's done it on the cards, like, so just a tremendous loss for the sport, like.
Well said, Rob. Okay, guys, that will do it. Thanks to Andy, thanks to Ozzy, to Rob, also to Ben, who was on right at the top of the show. Find him over at boxingnewstv.com. Also, patreon.com/boxingasylum if you want the pod straight away, and any extra content. John Ryder was on with us tonight as well, so was Billy Nelson, and everyone who joined us last night on the call and on YouTube. Thank you to you too. I've been Steve Wellings. We'll speak to you all next week. Thank you. Bye.